before they fulfill their desires. Set to waste of existence. Waste of existence.
The sun is shining and the anxious earth is rising. Anxious earth is rising. I'm so happy.
Spend our life searching for this sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires. Such a waste of existence.
Oh, hi. This is the Double Tribble channel. My name is Ron, and I live in rural New Hampshire, surrounded by forests and wild animals. Wait, I'm still a cartoon. Hold on.
Hey, there it is. I gotta check my mic. I don't know if I got a mic or not. Hang on just a second. I gotta check my mic. I got a mic, I guess. It says I got a mic. I might as well check my sync since I'm already screwed up the stream here. Yeah, that looks all right. Welcome. This is a Double Tribble channel on Twitch. Streaming live. If you're watching this on a VOD somewhere, like on YouTube or something like that, it's a live stream. That means I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. It's going to be pretty scuffed compared to a edited video. And I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff today, so I don't know what title I'm going to end up putting on the video. If what I'm talking about at the moment isn't what you thought you were going to get, just fast forward, find it. You know how that works, right? Anyway, my name is Ron. I live in rural New Hampshire. I'm surrounded by forests and wild animals and all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I stream about that. I do IRL streams sometimes. Sometimes I do movie reviews. Haven't done one of those in a while. I like to stream science, a lot of science stuff, and civics and vegan stuff, a lot of different things. Today I'm going to do a little bit of civic stuff because last stream we did a live coverage of the big Supreme Court case, and I don't know if I hit all the points on that on the last stream. Maybe I'll follow up on some of that stuff. And it's been a long time since I've done a news thing, so we'll play a video from Democracy Now! If it works. I don't know if my video is going to be able to play or not. And talk about a whole bunch of different stuff that's going on. And content warning. We're gonna there will be food cues in this stream because part of one of the things I'm going to talk about today is SNAP. So SNAP, is a supplemental nutritional supplemental nutritional assistance program. SNAP. And it's about food. It's feeding people who don't have enough to feed themselves, or they just don't have enough money. or you know, they have money that they can pay rent or pay food, you know, or you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying. They don't have enough for everything, so they cover their food. What's the SNAP? So we'll be talking about that, and that's about food. So there will be food cues in that. It'll remind me to talk about other things related to food than I do. And I might do some IRLs. Yeah, I think I'll do some IRLs. I don't think I've done all the IRLs yet. I might have some IRLs there that I haven't played yet. So a few different things today. So whatever you're interested in, you can just fast forward to that. I think what I'll do is maybe do the news first. Oh, I didn't put news as one of my things in there. I put civics and law and democracy. That's good enough, I guess. Maybe we'll cover the news first. Democracy now doesn't do weekend stuff. So the last one I have is from Friday. So it's it's day old news. Day old bread, right? Gotta tie it into the whole snap thing, you know. Day old. Let them eat day old news, you know. I guess, I don't know. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll play the democracy now thing, and I'll talk about some of my harvest. I don't think I covered my harvest yet. All the stuff. I got these like this here, you know, and I got this out of my garden. I got a whole bunch of these, or a few of them of these. Not as many as last year, but I got a few. And you know, I was hoping to get some kale. I had a whole bunch of kale out there that I was just keeping it in the garden so it'd stay fresh, you know. And the deers thought that was a pretty good idea too. So but they waited to eat it until, I think what they did is because you know we get deer. The deer come by and they eat this stuff sometimes, you know, and they like kale, so they eat the kale. And but they weren't eating the kale, you know. They didn't come and steal my kale. They came and got my sunflower. I had a sunflower plant, and they like to eat that when it's before it gets big. So they ate that, right, when it was, you know, this tall or whatever. But the kale they weren't eating, and I didn't understand because they like kale. And I think I figured out what it is. They waited until we had a hard frost, and then they ate the kale. I think it's because, remember I did that stream about the caterpillars and all that stuff? And my kale had a bunch of caterpillars on it. Whenever I trimmed it and brought it into the kitchen, I always had to pick caterpillars out of it, you know. But after hard frost, then it doesn't have caterpillars anymore. The caterpillars fall down, you know. And if they survive, they dig into the ground, and you know how that works, right? So I think what the deer were doing was they were waiting for the hard frost so the caterpillars would fall off of the kale and they wouldn't have to worry about eating caterpillars when they were eating the kale. I think that's what it was. If I was a deer, that's how I would think. But I'm a vegan, so. But deers are vegans, right? Aren't they? I think they are. Yeah, deers are vegan, maybe. I don't know. Probably. Yeah, they don't eat plants, right? They're not omnivores or carnivores. They're herbivores, right? That's vegan, right? Maybe we can look that up tonight. I don't know. So yeah, I guess so. We'll start off with stuff with the news, right? We'll do the news first. Get that out of the way. I wanted to do this yesterday. Yesterday was Friday morning. I wanted, or even sooner, I wanted to do it. But Friday morning, I definitely wanted to do it, and I didn't. You know, it just took me all day to get it figured out and to get the news program and all that kind of stuff. And then it got to be Friday afternoon, and I thought, well, you know, Friday afternoon, people were getting off work and they don't want to hear the news, you know. And So I decided not to do it. But so now it is Saturday afternoon. Same deal, right? Except people had the day off. So maybe, I don't know. Everybody tries to do the news on Sunday, which is kind of weird. I don't understand why. All the news, the Sunday news programs, right? Sunday news programs. Why do they do this? Why do they do it on Sunday? And if it's mainstream media does that, right? They do the news on Sunday morning. So they must have a reason for doing it, and whatever the reason for doing it probably contradicts with with my values or my position or whatever. So maybe I shouldn't do it. We have a chatter. Welcome, Disillusioned. Welcome to chat. Thank you for joining the stream today. For those of you who are watching this on a video somewhere on YouTube or whatever, this is live, right? Then we've got a chat facility here so that folks that are viewing this live broadcast can type stuff in and make comments and stuff like that. Kind of like democracy works, right? People say what's on their mind, So so I guess we'll do that. The title of the stream, I guess I should explain the title of the stream. Do I need to explain it? It's a joke. It's not a joke, but it's serious. but it's I was trying to be witty, right? Trying to be witty and say, right, all those in favor, of democracy say aye, right? It's like that's what you do. That democracy is voting, right? Part of it. And so if you're participating, if you're saying, if you're taking a poll, how many people are in favor of something, that is democracy. You're already doing democracy, right? So it's at least in some form, right? But democracy is a lot more than that, right? It's talk. It's not just voting. It's talking about stuff. So you're in, you can share your ideas, and then hopefully the best ideas come forward, and occasionally, most of the time, more often than you think, people have the same interests, and stuff. And when they talk about it and stuff like that, they find out that they have the same interests. And oh yeah, okay. Instead of talking about, some what they call culture issues, culture issues, which is what mainstream media likes to always push. They like to talk about culture issues and stuff like that, because that divides people, and it divides people on an issue that billionaires don't give a shit about. You know what I mean? They care about their power and their money. They don't care about culture issues usually. So that's what they try to get people to talk about, and it gives people the impression that there's more disagreement. That people disagree about stuff more, and that when people discuss things, it's more confrontational, more more divisive or whatever. So that's what you kind of get from mainstream media all the time. So I like to talk about things that have substance and that affect billionaires, and that affect politicians and affect people who are in power and blah blah blah. And when you look at some of the major stuff, 80% of the people agree on it. Term limits, yeah. Most people want term limits. Most people want a fair tax system. Most people want free speech. They want, they want people to be taken care of. They don't want people dying on the streets. It's kind of basic stuff. They don't want people to be homeless. They don't want all this stuff, and they want to be free. They don't want to have a whole bunch of regulations. They don't want government telling them what to do and how to run their business and all this kind of stuff. most people, people who have businesses anyway. The interesting thing about that is that here on Twitch, my theory on one of the driving motivations why a billionaire would want to run something like Twitch is that part of what's, I mean, a lot of people stream for a lot of different reasons, but most of the streamers that are real serious about it, then they kind of make it a business, right? They have a brand, quote unquote, a brand, right? And all these different things, And my theory is that the reason why a billionaire would want to keep Twitch going, which loses money, by the way, Twitch loses money for Amazon, is that it's like a training ground, for little capitalists. You know what I mean? It's to try to teach people how to, because a lot of people on Twitch, right, are left. They're kind of left leaning. I think, I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know. They're young people, right? Young people are more progressive, right? So, and at least when I'm going through Twitch, I find a lot of people who are, communist, or they don't like capitalism, or they don't blah blah blah, So I think what one of the goals here from the billionaire's perspective is that Twitch will teach these young people how to be part of this system. They'll have their own business, they'll have a brand, they'll try to make more money, they'll compromise their values in order to make more money, get more viewers. It's kind of like a way to mold people into the system. That's my theory on the whole thing. So what I kind of went off to a tangent there. So I guess what I'll do is I will play this. I have a video. I guess I should find that here. I do have a video somewhere. So what I'll do now, this is Democracy Now! is what I did. I recorded the Friday Democracy Now! And then I edited it. I had to cut stuff out because it doesn't fit Twitch's censorship rules, which kind of sucks. I mean, that's kind of ironic that I'm doing this thing on democracy, and the newscast that I'm doing is Democracy Now! But I had to censor it in order to make it fit, what Twitch's deal is, Twitch and YouTube, they both have, different things that they don't like people to do, so that they censor. But on Twitch, let me just show you so you see what I'm doing here, why I did that. I didn't do this before, but I found out these guidelines that I didn't know existed before. When I was looking, I did a stream where I had some wildlife situation out in my yard there that was kind of, it was nature in the raw, it was an animal that had been hunted, and anyway, I wanted to find out if I could show that or not, and I concluded that I could, even though the guidelines were ambiguous somewhat. But anyway, in that process of going through that, I went through these things and found a whole bunch of other things, and I thought, oh shoot, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, or whatever. So what I will do, let me show you the guidelines here for Twitch. You see that? Oh, hi, Silver Pills, welcome to chat. Thank you for joining the stream, Silver Pills. I appreciate it. Silver Pills says, I wouldn't disagree with that point. Either would I. I agree with that point. Whichever one you were talking about, I agree with it. Yay. So here are some of the things that I had to take out of the newscast that I clipped. Well, first I clipped anything that had music, because YouTube doesn't like you to have music on your videos. So I have to remove all the music, and then let's see, violence and threats. Violence. Okay, is this the one? Okay, yeah, attempts or threats to physically harm or kill others. In the news, they show some people with guns and stuff like that, so I couldn't show that. I had to cut anything like that. Use of weapons to physically threaten, intimidate, or blah, blah, blah. So that was in there. That was in a news broadcast, too. There were people carrying guns and pointing them at people and stuff like that, so I took that out. And terrorism and violent extremism. Terrorism and violent extremism promote unlawful violence and spread messages of intolerance. It says Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors or acts. This includes threatening to or encouraging others to commit acts that would result in serious physical harm or significant property damage. And there were some clips in there that show well, for example, I can't show the orange guy, the guy who's sitting in the Oval Office right now. I can't show pictures of him because he made a threat against a violent threat against another foreign leader recently to kill him, and he also has unlawfully killed people, right? They're showing these pictures of which are in the newscast also, of these boats, and they're dropping bombs on these boats where it's just, at worst it's just people, smugglers, right? It's not people who are armed or threatening anybody, So anyway, those bombings of the boats are illegal, so that's illegal violence. And this says that you can't have illegal violence or people who threaten to do violence. So I can't show that guy. I can't show the current occupant of the Oval Office. So he's not allowed to be shown on here because he's a terrorist, right? And there were a couple other things. There was Israel had dropped some bombs on people, and so I had to cut that out. And so there's just a lot of stuff that I had to cut out of the news because of the way they word these rules here. Here it is: extreme violence or gore. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, you can't show. Yeah, this is another one. You can't show any. You cannot show content with death or extreme injury. And there are some scenes in there from Sudan, the war in Sudan, where they had some people that were dead. And it was like I had to cut those out. Anyway, so I had to cut a lot of stuff out, from this from the newscast. So when I'm playing it, you'll see that there's spots that are, it's blank or whatever, and that's the way I'm trying to follow the rules as much as I can. I'm going to try to adjust my picture a little bit here, see if I can get that. Is that a little bit better? Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay. All right, so let's do this here. Let me see if I can get my news show going here. Okay. There we go. I haven't done this in a while. Played something like this, so this might not be exactly. Okay, there. See, I had one thing that I didn't do yet. There we go. All right, there we go. Hey, all right. So here we go. We're going to play the news. I'm going to listen and see if it actually plays. Silver Pill says, yeah, that's another thing. I might not keep up with chat right at the minute. You know, I'm not one of those that are very good at keeping an eye on chat. So occasionally it might take me a few minutes to get to chat. So I apologize for that. All good. Okay, good. Silver Pill says the current occupant of the Oval Office. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to say his name. No, I'm not going to say his name. All right. All right. Let's run this and see if we got audio
I'm Amy
here.
Goodman. In Sudan, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces said Thursday they've agreed to a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal to end more than 2 years of a devastating war with the Sudanese military. The truce was brokered by a U.S.-led group of mediators known as the Quad, made up of negotiators from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Hundreds of thousands of civilians facing famine remain trapped in the city of Al-Fashir in Sudan's North Darfur region after it was seized by the RSF. Sudan's war has triggered what the UN describes as the largest humanitarian crisis in the world, with millions of people displaced.
We hope that things would go back to what they used to be, and for people to go back to their lands. War is not good. I swear to God, people were destroyed. Youth were lost, and families were lost. We don't have anything to say. We just want the country to be fixed. We wish the country would be fixed for people to return to their lands and to live in peace and security.
In Gaza, Israel's military is continuing to target the southern city of Khan Yunis with airstrikes and artillery fire, despite the U.S.-brokered truce that took effect nearly a month ago. On Thursday, a civil society group in Gaza appealed for international assistance in finding the bodies of more than 10,000 Palestinians still buried under the rubble of buildings destroyed during Israel's 2-year assault. In its appeal, the National Committee for Missing Persons called Gaza the world's largest mass grave. In Lebanon, at least one person was killed and 9 others injured after Israel launched a series of airstrikes Thursday. Both Lebanon's government and Hezbollah condemned the attacks as another flagrant violation of the ceasefire deal agreed to 1 year ago. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Thursday the U.S. military struck yet another boat in the Caribbean, claiming without evidence it killed 3 narco-traffickers on board. The latest killings bring the reported toll from U.S. attacks in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific to 70 people aboard 18 boats. Hegseth's announcement came as Republican senators narrowly blocked a war powers resolution seeking to bar President Trump from taking military action against Venezuela without congressional authorization. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen spoke ahead of Thursday evening's vote.
Quit engaging in illegal actions in the Caribbean and international waters, blowing up boats and people in an extrajudicial fashion. And when it comes to Venezuela, stop making these threats and amassing military assets off the shore and claiming you somehow have the authority to do that.
I'll have something to
The
say
Constitution
about
invests
this
the
guy,
authority
Chris Holland,
to go
after
to
the
war
thing.
with the United States Congress.
On Thursday, the former chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Luis Moreno Ocampo, told the BBC the U.S. attacks on civilian vessels would be treated as crimes against humanity under international law. We'll have more on the attacks later in the broadcast with Peter Kornblue of the Latin American National Security Archives. The U.S. federal government shutdown has entered its 38th day. On Thursday, Senate Democrats huddled behind closed doors to discuss ways to end the stalemate as Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune prepared a Friday vote on a package of spending bills that once again omit Democrats' key demand, an extension of federal health insurance tax credits set to expire December 31st. Without an extension, the average enrollee will see premium costs more than double. Millions would lose coverage entirely. Meanwhile, a federal judge Thursday ordered the Trump administration to immediately and fully fund SNAP food assistance benefits after it refused to draw down contingency funds to pay for the program that helps 1 out of every 8 people in the U.S. afford groceries. The administration promptly appealed the ruling. In response,
I'm not sure what I'm censoring
Washington
there.
Senator Patty Murray
Might be
wrote, quote,
pictures of that guy.
I've never seen an American president so desperate to force children and seniors to go hungry. This is as ugly and cruel as it gets, Senator Murray wrote. Millions of U.S. air travelers face travel chaos after the Trump administration began canceling flights at 40 of the nation's busiest airports. Airlines have already canceled thousands of flights. That number is expected to grow if the government shutdown continues into next week. This comes amidst a shortage of air traffic controllers who've been forced to work long hours without pay throughout the shutdown. Meanwhile, the death toll from Wednesday's crash of a UPS cargo plane in Louisville, Kentucky, has risen to 13. The National Transportation Safety Board says it has recovered the plane's cockpit voice and data recorders investigating the plane's maintenance history. NTSB workers are considered essential workers and have been required to work without pay throughout the shutdown. Elon Musk is poised to become the first trillionaire in world history. On Thursday, shareholders at the electric vehicle maker Tesla approved a pay package worth nearly $1 trillion if Musk meets certain corporate goals over the next decade. He's already the world's richest person with a net worth of around $500 billion. A Chicago judge has banned federal agents from using tear gas, pepper spray, and other riot weapons amidst Trump's immigration crackdown in the city. The latest ruling by Judge Sarah Ellis extends temporary restrictions issued last month in which she ordered federal agents to use body cameras and report on excessive use of force during raids in the Chicago area. There have been mounting reports of immigration agents pointing guns at civilians during the operations, as well as attacking protesters and journalists. Judge Ellis blasted Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bavino for admitting he lied about being hit with a rock during a raid in Chicago's Little Village before deploying tear gas on a crowd of people. Judge Ellis wrote, quote, the government would have people believe instead that the Chicagoland area is in a vice hold of violence, ransacked by rioters and attacked by agitators. That simply is untrue, and the government's own evidence in this case belies that assertion, she said. In Washington, D.C., a jury Thursday acquitted a man who was charged for throwing a sandwich at a federal agent in protest of President Trump's crackdown on the Capitol. Sean Dunn was found not guilty of 1 count of misdemeanor assault. A grand jury previously rejected a felony charge against Dunn, whose image throwing a submarine-style sandwich at a Customs and Border Protection agent in August became a symbol of resistance. LGBTQ+ advocates have vowed to continue fighting after the conservative majority Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration to temporarily enforce a discriminatory passport policy against transgender, non-binary, and intersex people. The policy requires U.S. passports to match a person's sex designation found on their original birth certificate. The measure seeks to end a Biden-era practice of issuing passports with a gender-neutral marker, an X, and for applicants to select a marker that matches their gender identity. In response, the ACLU said, quote, forcing transgender people to carry passports that out them against their will increases the risk they will face harassment and violence and adds to the considerable barriers they already face in securing freedom, safety, and acceptance, unquote. We'll have more on this story after headlines. We'll get response from the famous trans actress Laverne Cox, as well as the ACLU. In Vietnam, at least 5 people were killed after Typhoon Kalmegi battered coastal regions with torrential rain and gushing winds. The storm made landfall in central Vietnam Thursday, destroying homes, uprooting trees, causing widespread power outages for an estimated 1.2 million people. The typhoon left a trail of destruction in the Philippines, where the death toll rose to nearly 200 people today. The typhoon is weakened to a tropical storm as it moved toward Cambodia and Laos. On Thursday, the UN World Meteorological Organization warned this year is on track to rank among the 3 warmest years on record, coming after last year set a record as the hottest year ever observed. The Texas-based oil giant Exxon financed right-wing think tanks to help spread climate change denial across Latin America. That's according to newly revealed documents published by The Guardian and Desmog, which uncovered a widespread campaign by Exxon to finance the U.S.-based Atlas Network, a coalition made up of more than 500 so-called free market think tanks and its partners worldwide, in order to spread lies about the role of fossil fuels in causing the climate crisis. This comes as world leaders Thursday delivered opening remarks in Belém, Brazil, which is preparing to host COP30 UN climate summit starting next week. This is Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
The window of opportunity we have to act is closing rapidly. Climate change is a result of the same dynamics that, over the centuries, have fractured our society between rich and poor and divided it between developed and developing countries.
The Trump administration's not sending a U.S. delegation to the upcoming climate talks. Democracy Now! Will be broadcasting from COP30 in Belém. California Democratic Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi announced Thursday she will not seek re-election when her term ends in early 2027. Pelosi's represented San Francisco in Congress for nearly 4 decades. In 2007, she was elected as the first female Speaker of the House, where she exerted powerful control over House Democrats as they took up major legislation, including the Affordable Care Act under President Obama. She served a second term as House Speaker from 2019 to 2023. Meanwhile, New York Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani traveled to Puerto Rico Thursday for the annual Somos Conference, which focuses on issues important to Puerto Rican communities. Mamdani proposed raising revenue for his ambitious affordability agenda by raising the personal income tax on New Yorkers who make $1 million or more by 2% and raising the state's top corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. Governor Hochul has rejected broad tax increases on New Yorkers. Meanwhile, Republican New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, a key ally of President Trump, has announced she'll seek her party's nomination to challenge Hochul in the 2026 gubernatorial election. And the trailblazing human rights attorney Peter Weiss has died at the age of 99. Weiss served on the board of the Center for Constitutional Rights for nearly 5 decades, where he worked to end South African apartheid and the Vietnam War, fought for nuclear disarmament, and sought justice for victims of the U.S.-backed Contras in the 1980s Nicaragua. He pioneered using the 1789 Alien Tort Statute in human rights cases. He also represented the family of U.S. journalist and human rights activist Charles Horman in a case against Henry Kissinger and others after Horman was disappeared and killed in Chile soon after the U.S.-backed September 11, 1973 coup. Peter Weiss spoke to Democracy Now! About the case in 2013.
Our case was dismissed because we couldn't conduct discovery. When you bring any kind of case, civil or criminal, you have to look for the evidence and produce the evidence to the judge or the jury. And everything that we wanted, we were told, was classified and would not be made available to us. So eventually the case had to be dismissed.
The legendary human rights attorney Peter Weiss died just 5 weeks shy of what would have been his 100th birthday. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The conservative majority Supreme Court.
Okay. I think I have an ad coming up. That little thing down there in the corner, which is the on the screen, the bottom left corner there is a little thing that says when ads are supposed to come up. I think it says an ad's supposed to come up. Let me see if I can find that here. And I don't want to, run this thing while, I don't want an ad to interrupt that, so I think it says that there's an ad coming up. Although I have a little computer here that I monitor with. I have my regular streaming computer, and then I have another computer totally separate that's not logged in, that's watching. Because when I'm logged in, I don't see my own ads, on the thing, on the little screen that they give you. So it's kind of hard for me to tell. So that's why I put that little monitor down there in the lower left hand corner. Anyway, so I'm going to pause this for a little bit until those ads clear out. Whenever they start, it's kind of hard to tell when they're gonna go. Let's see, ads. It is ad manager. Yeah, it says an ad starting in 15 seconds. So, all right, so we'll wait for that to go by, and then after the ad, then I'll start that democracy now thing again. So, all right, we'll be back in a bit. Yeah, see, it's this is really interesting. Mike, I don't know. Are you guys getting ads? I don't know. My little computer here that monitors my stream is not showing an ad, but my Twitch dashboard here is telling me that it's playing an ad. So I don't know. This is always confusing. The way they have this set up is very confusing for streamers. To know when ads are actually playing. That's why I set up this separate computer over here, Sometimes it doesn't show the ads. Yeah. So, Silver Pills said sometimes it doesn't show the ads. Yeah, I noticed that. It doesn't, for some reason. Maybe I don't have enough viewers. It's not worth the trouble to show an ad because I don't have enough viewers to do it, to show it to. I don't know. It's on my little monitor computer here. It's not showing that it's playing an ad, but my dashboard on Twitch says, "Yeah, we're playing an ad. Ad is in progress." Blah blah blah. They didn't used to it used to be that everybody would get the same ad and they'd all get them at the same time and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're starting to I think they changed it so that they can play specific ads to specific people and stuff, rather than have like, okay, this ad is going to play on this stream, because this stream has this certain type of audience and advertisers want that kind of audience or whatever. I think they're changing it so, okay, we've got this data on each of our users, if you want to play your ad to a user that has such and such attribute, is over 50 years old and they like candy bars or whatever, Silver Pill says, yeah, I get ads based on my VPN location. Okay, geographic, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's true. They would want certain ads to play at certain it doesn't make sense to play an ad for for one country. It won't make sense in another country, right? So I noticed that sometimes when I'm watching who was it? I can't remember, but like streamers in another country, every once in a while they will click up their view, what they're seeing on their computer. The streamer will show you what they're seeing on their computer, and then you'll see the ads that they're playing, or like a streamer will be playing YouTube videos, and then all of a sudden an ad will pop up on their YouTube. On their YouTube, when they're playing YouTube, right? They're playing a YouTube video, then a YouTube ad will pop up as they're streaming on Twitch, but they're streaming a YouTube video, and YouTube will pop up and play a YouTube ad on their thing, and then you get to see the ad that they're getting in their country. which is, it's a different language sometimes, or it's, business you never heard of and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. All right, I think Silver Pill says, I live in Germany, but I get Swiss ads. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty close right there. That's pretty close. Yeah, EU, there are probably a lot of, since the EU was formed, a lot of businesses, go to different, same business, is in all the EU countries, I mean, not just the big, like McDonald's and that kind of stuff, but I mean, chain, store chains and stuff like that. All right, let's get back to this. Oh, I was going to do something else here. I want to set up a. What did I want to do here? I want to pop out my chat here. Just a second. Just take a second here. Chat. Pop out chat. How do we do that? Pop out chat. There we go. Yeah, I wanted to put this over here so that because I can't see my chat when I'm playing the Democracy Now video. It doesn't. Anyway, that's my thing, right? You guys don't care about that. All right. All right, you got that. Shut that off. There we go. Okay, back to Democracy Now. And after this is over, then we'll discuss some of the headlines or some of the stories they have or whatever you guys want to talk about or whatever I want to talk about or whatever. We'll discuss some of them afterwards. But I'll just kind of get through it first. All right, here we go. Starting up again.
Thursday allowed the Trump administration to temporarily enforce a discriminatory passport policy against transgender, non-binary, and intersex people while litigation in the case Trump continues through the lower courts. After the decision, Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote on X, quote, attorneys at the Justice Department just secured our 24th victory at the Supreme Court's emergency docket. Today's stay allows the government to require citizens to list their biological sex on their passport. In other words, there are two sexes, and our attorneys will continue fighting for that simple truth, Bondi said. Going back to 1992, the State Department's allowed for trans Americans to update their sex designations, and an X marker was added under the Biden administration. LGBTQ plus advocates have argued this policy will expose trans and intersex people to real danger while traveling. The ACLU has successfully won in the lower courts, arguing the policy is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. The Trump administration has appealed. Thursday's order granting a stay on the lower court ruling for a temporary injunction made no mention of potential harm to plaintiffs. In their unsigned decision, the conservative majority wrote, quote, displaying passport holders' sex at birth no more offends equal protection principles than displaying their country of birth. In both cases, the government's merely attesting to a historical fact without subjecting anyone to differential treatment, unquote. In a scathing dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said, quote, the documented real-world harms to these plaintiffs obviously outweigh the government's unexplained and inexplicable interest in immediate implementation of the passport policy, she said, and went on to say her colleagues had, quote, once again paved the way for the immediate infliction of injury without adequate or really any justification, unquote. For more, we're joined by Arlie Christian, Senior Policy Counsel of the ACLU in Washington, D.C. Welcome to Democracy Now! Talk about the significance of this Supreme Court ruling and what happens next.
Thank you, Amy, so much for having us here. And really, this decision by the Supreme Court, this is an emergency stay. As you mentioned, the Supreme Court has decided that the government can move forward in implementing this harmful discriminatory policy that requires a sex assigned at birth on your original birth certificate to be printed on passports. And the harm is quite immediate, right? We have had a preliminary injunction in place in this case since April. And that has prevented the federal government from changing their 33-year-old policy, as you mentioned, of allowing people to have a passport that reflects who they are. for now, the Supreme Court has stayed that injunction. So now the federal government will be moving forward with printing passports that do not reflect who an individual is. Really harmful for the moment, but the fight is not over. We are still in the courts. We are still in the First Circuit looking at this injunction. We are still with the district court looking at the actual merits of the case, which were not considered in this Supreme Court stay.
What happens to people, for example, who have X on their passport right now?
Yeah, so Amy, this decision and the actions of the federal government are causing chaos, panic, confusion among the trans, intersex, non-binary communities across the country. The fact of the matter is, if you have a validly issued passport with an M, an F, or an X, you are eligible to travel with that passport. That is, the State Department said that even when they reversed the policy back in January, and that continues to be the case. However, there have been lots of actions that have scared people, and this stay is one of them. We are still working with the government's lawyers to find out what will happen to the passports that were correctly issued during the course of this injunction, and people are scared about that. And generally speaking, the harm and the targeting of this policy on towards intersex, non-binary, and trans people is terrifying. It makes it very scary to travel, to trust that you'll be able to get through security, that you'll be able to get on your flight. Things that every person in the United States should not have to worry about. We all deserve the right to travel freely with dignity, with respect, as exactly who we are. And that is something that the administration is attacking right now.
Last night, I had a chance to speak with Laverne Cox after a showing of the new documentary called Heightened Scrutiny. Laverne Cox is the actress and trans activist. I asked her to respond to the Supreme Court's ruling.
What I think is really important for me to remember, and for all my trans siblings out there to remember, is that the government cannot tell us who we are, and they will never be the arbiter of our identities. No matter what they say about our ID documents, we are still who we are, and we will find a way to be ourselves no matter what. We must, because living a lie, trying to be someone else, is death. It's an eternal death. So no matter what the government says or decrees, we will continue to be ourselves, our beautiful anointed selves, because trans is beautiful, because trans rights are human rights, and because trans people are anointed.
Trans actress Laverne Cox. The ACLU case stems from an executive order signed by President Trump in January that denies the existence of trans and intersex people and says, quote, "It's the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female," unquote. The order requires identity documents like passports to provide only male and female sex designations, which must be based on a person's sex, quote, "at conception." This is one of the plaintiffs in the case, the content creator and trans activist, Zaya Parisia.
I'm a transgender woman. I applied to renew my passport and have it marked as female, and they refused, and they sent it back to me as male. He does not get to tell me who I am. Only I do. And now I'm at high risk of something bad happening to me if I were to travel abroad. This policy is dangerous, and it is unfair to every single trans, non-binary, or intersex person that there is. I'm an American, and yes, I'm transgender, but I deserve to be able to travel freely without fear or repercussion. We deserve the freedom to be ourselves. And no politician should be able to take that away. This is just a small part of a broad effort by the Trump administration to push trans people out of public life and act like we don't exist. They want to ban our healthcare, censor our speech, control our lives. And I'm not just gonna sit there and let it happen. We're not gonna sit here and let it happen. We deserve better than this, because all people deserve better than this. And Donald Trump, we'll see you in court.
As we wrap up, Arlie Christian, what do you expect to happen next?
Well, we are continuing to fight to stop this harmful policy. And as you've heard from so many of our plaintiffs and so many trans, non-binary, intersex people across the country, this is so harmful. The ACLU will not stand by and watch as the administration targets and harms a population of our country with no legitimate government reason. So we are continuing to fight. We'll continue to fight on the merits of the case. And, you know, this is part of the ACLU's strong belief that the Constitution covers all of us, and it covers the rights and protections and privacy and dignity of every single person. And so we will continue to fight on this policy.
Arlie Christian, I want to thank you for being with us, Senior Policy Counsel in the ACLU's National Political Advocacy Department, focused on initiatives to support and protect the LGBTQ community. Coming up, we look at the Supreme Court battle over Trump's tariffs policies and more. We'll speak to Lisa Graves, her new book, Without Precedent, How Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. Stay with us.
Okay, I had to shut the audio off on this because it's, again, YouTube doesn't allow music, so I shut the audio off on it. I'm going to stop this and try to restart it or something because it's out of sync for some reason. So the audio was out of sync with the video there for a second. So I'm going to see if I can get that to come back in sync again. Here.
Studio. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We're staying on the subject of the Supreme Court, but now turning to a major case before the court on President Trump's authority to impose sweeping tariffs on foreign goods. The court heard oral arguments on Wednesday. Solicitor General John Sauer argued President Trump has the power to unilaterally impose the tariffs under a 1977 law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA, which grants the president the authority to regulate commerce during wartime or other national emergencies. This is the Solicitor General arguing.
I want to make a very important distinction here. We don't contend that what's being exercised here is the power to tax. It's the power to regulate foreign commerce. These are regulatory tariffs. They are not revenue-raising tariffs. The fact that they raise revenue is only incidental. The tariffs would be most effective, so to speak, if no person ever paid them.
Challenging the policy in the case is a group of small businesses. This is the plaintiff's attorney and former Solicitor General Neil Katyal speaking outside the court.
Our message today is simple. The Constitution, our framers, 238 years of American history, all say only Congress has the power to impose tariffs on the American people. And tariffs are nothing but taxes on the American people, paid by Americans. This case is not about the president, it's about the presidency. It's not about partisanship, it's about principle. And above all, it's about upholding the majestic separation of powers laced into our Constitution that is the foundation for our government. We thank the justices today for their extensive questioning in this case, and we look forward to the resolution.
The case has moved quickly through the federal courts. The court has heard roughly 24 emergency appeals by the Trump administration, which the conservative majority has largely allowed Trump's aggressive agenda to go forward. But this is the first time the court will make a final decision on one of those policies. On Wednesday, the justices, including conservative justices, appeared skeptical of the government's argument. This is Chief Justice John Roberts.
You have a claim source, an IEPA, that had never before been used to justify tariffs. No one has argued that it does until this particular case. Congress uses tariffs in other provisions, but not here. And yet, and correct me on this if I'm not right about it, the justification is being used for a power to impose tariffs on any product from any country in any amount for any length of time. That seems like, I'm not suggesting it's not there, but it does seem like that's major authority, and the basis for the claim seems to be a misfit.
For more on tariffs and the Supreme Court, we're joined by Lisa Graves. She is the director and founder of the policy research group True North Research. Her new book is titled Without Precedent, how Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. She's also the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. And she's joining us now from Superior, Wisconsin. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Lisa. In fact, the Chief Justice is the main focus of your book on the Supreme Court. Talk about the significance of this case, and did it surprise you, the skepticism of the conservative majority, including the 3 Trump appointees?
Well, this is an important case, and I wish that I could have confidence in the sincerity of those questions that John Roberts posed. But we know that just last year, he invented immunity from criminal prosecution for President Trump out of whole cloth, despite the fact that the Constitution does not provide that power. So now here we are over a year later with this court deciding whether this president has the power to engage in tariffs, even though the Constitution expressly gives those powers to Congress. And this law, IEPA, does not provide any tariff power to the president. And as you know, and your listeners know, tariffs are taxes that end up being paid by the American people in the cost of the goods that we ultimately purchase. And Trump has bragged about how these tariffs are supposedly producing so much revenue, billions and billions of dollars of revenue. And yet we had the administration argue before the court that the revenue was incidental, that this is just a normal regulatory power. It's not. Nothing's normal. I do think this court, the Roberts Court, is going to strike this down, but that's in part because this court, occasionally will rule against this president. But as you note and noted at the top of this show, 24 times so far this year, this court has intervened to allow reckless and damaging actions to happen to the American people, irreparable harm to the American people. And in this instance, with the business community weighing in, perhaps it will decide against Trump this one time and then try to use that as a shield to say, look, it's fair, when in fact this court under John Roberts has behaved in innumerable ways, in very unfair ways, in counter-constitutional ways, and in ways that have decimated our rights, including our voting rights.
So talk about who actually brought this case. The businesses are not corporate giants. They're small and medium-sized. And when you say everyone knows that these are taxes, explain more fully who pays these tariffs. As President Trump says, we're going to get these countries to pay. That's not, in fact, who pays.
Yeah, that's not who pays. So the tariffs are tariffs on goods sold in the United States, imported in the United States, which means ultimately, whether it's businesses buying those goods as components for building products, or whether it's consumers buying things at the grocery store or at a department store, it's the American people who pays. Right now, some of the businesses that are involved in these in imports are not passing those tariffs on to the American consumers. They're waiting to see what ultimately happens in absorbing those costs. But those costs are already being passed on to the American consumers in lots of ways. And so it is this idea that this is some sort of or revenue incidental tariff, that it's supposedly foreign facing, so it doesn't affect us. That's not true. It's we, the American people, who ultimately pay the cost of those tariffs. And Congress has the power to tax, expressly in the Constitution. It's given to it, not the president. And simultaneously, in that same provision, Congress is given the power to impose tariffs. This statute that this Trump administration is hanging its hat on does not give the president the power to tariff or to tax. And there's a good reason for that. It's not just that it's in our Constitution. Trump's behavior is exactly why no president has ever been given this sort of power, because putting that power in the hands of one person allows for arbitrary, capricious, whimsical, vindictive action by one person, as we've seen Trump do. That initial round of tariffs was announced as including tariffs on Penguin Islands, but not North Korea and Russia. The tariffs are arbitrary. We're seeing sort of a shakedown process in some of the efforts to try to get countries to appease Trump's ego in exchange for dropping tariffs or limiting them. That's not how tariff policy is supposed to go. It's supposed to be passed by Congress through genuine deliberation. And more than that, because it's a tax on the American people, it has to be something that only Congress can do, because Congress has the power of the purse, not the president. And we cannot have this president, exercising all the powers basically of the legislative branch and the executive branch.
This is an exchange between Justice Elena Kagan and the Solicitor General John Sauer during oral arguments, speaking about emergency powers.
The president has to make a formal declaration of a national emergency, which subjects him to particularly intensive oversight by Congress, natural lapsing, repeated review, reports, and so forth. It says you have to consult with Congress to the maximum.
I mean, you
possible.
yourself think that the declaration of emergency is unreviewable. And even if it's not unreviewable, it's of course the kind of determination that this court would grant considerable deference to the president on. So that doesn't seem like much of a constraint.
But it is.
And in fact, we've had cases recently which deals with the president's emergency powers, and it turns out we're in emergencies everything all the time about like half the world.
English, please, Lisa Graves.
Well, so this question under IEPA is whether there's an emergency that's the basis for regulation or sort of an embargo. And in this instance, there isn't. The administration has claimed that the fentanyl crisis somehow allows it to impose these wide and arbitrary tariffs. It's also claimed that the trade deficit, which has been part of our economy for decades, is some sort of national emergency. It's not. We've seen Trump assert emergencies in Portland, in Los Angeles. Like, he basically just uses the word emergency to try to get away with anything. And it is true. The Supreme Court has traditionally deferred to declarations of emergencies by presidents, but I don't think it has any obligation to defer to this president's claims of emergency, which are factless, which are baseless, and which are just another argument, the kind of argument that John Sauer tends to make in justification of his client getting to do whatever he wants. So there is no genuine emergency. There is no war that is the precipitating basis for invoking IEPA. And even if it were, it would not allow the imposition of tariffs.
So, Lisa Graves, you've written this new book. It's called Without Precedent: How Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. If you can talk more about the major points in this book as you specifically look at Chief Justice Roberts, start with the whole issue of the Voting Rights Act. Talk about Chief Justice John Roberts' origin story.
Yes. So John Roberts chose to clerk for Bill Rehnquist, who was one of the most notorious anti-voting rights people on the Supreme Court. He in his personal capacity, sought to make it harder for Arizonans to vote, targeting black communities in Arizona with voter suppression himself personally in Bethune, in the neighborhood of Bethune. Then when he was on the court, right before John Roberts joined him, he issued a decision, the first decision trying to cut back Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act to say that effects would not count. So then what happened was Bill Rehnquist called Ken Starr, who was then the chief of staff for the new Attorney General for Ronald Reagan, and urged him to hire John Roberts. John Roberts was hired by the Reagan administration and put in charge of voting rights. John Roberts had no experience in voting rights, no experience in litigation. The only experience he had was clerking for, basically stodging for, the most regressive justice on the Supreme Court when it came to voting rights. Rehnquist, by the way, actually urged that his justice he clerked for dissent from the Brown versus Board of Education decision. Rehnquist aided Barry Goldwater, the guy who, one of the senators who opposed the Civil Rights Act. So this is the origin story of John Roberts. He spent hundreds of hours trying to block Congress from repairing that, from overturning that ruling. And then that the Voting Rights Act was extended for more than 20 years into 2007. And then when John Roberts became the Chief Justice of the United States in 2005, as soon as there was a case teed up for him to do so in the Shelby County case, he ruled against the Voting Rights Act. He struck down other key enforcement provisions of the Voting Rights Act, Section 4 and Section 5, that required pre-clearance of changes in jurisdictions that had a history of voter suppression, a history of targeting black voters. And that Shelby County decision unleashed this wave of voter suppression and voter restriction we've seen over the past decade. And now, right now, this court, the Roberts Court, is considering overruling Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and allowing white majority legislatures to dilute the black vote in Louisiana and other states.
We're talking to Lisa Graves. Her new book is just out. It's called Without Precedent: How Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. As you observe this court right now, what are your biggest concerns? And how do the other justices feel about the Chief Justice?
Well, I think this court is behaving illegitimately. These emergency orders overturning the well-reasoned, factually founded, legally grounded decisions to impose temporary restraining orders in the face of unilateral extreme actions by this president where the plaintiffs have shown irreparable harm. These are illegitimate actions by this court basically to aid Donald Trump. And it's part two of what it did last year in effectively pardoning Donald Trump, preventing the trial around January 6th to go forward, and basically paving the way for his return to power. And now once in power, John Roberts has helped to empower Donald Trump further with the help of his fellow Republican appointees. I think the Democratic appointees to the court in the minority are very frustrated, as you can see from the dissents in these cases, where the court is not describing why it is overturning these lower court rulings and allowing Trump to put his foot on the gas pedal to go forward with them while people are being harmed every day. I think that this Roberts court is out of control. It's behaving arrogantly. It has aggressively intervened in those cases, just like with the immunity decision. It could have let the lower court rulings, which were based on well-grounded precedent, stand, but instead it has sought to aid Trump at almost every turn, and in doing so has exposed itself as a hyper-partisan court that isn't really behaving like a court, but is behaving like an arm of the MAGA Trump presidency.
What most surprised you in doing the research for your book?
Oh my goodness. Well, it was a small thing, but you know, everyone knows that John Roberts talked about how he was going to be a fair umpire, just calling balls and strikes. When I looked into his background, it turned out that he never played baseball in high school or college. He was actually a football player, and his coach.
Okay, I'm gonna stop that for a second because I'll forget this. It's a metaphor. Okay. I have to stop this and explain this here. He said he's going to call balls and strikes, meaning he was using the umpire in a baseball game as a metaphor for what the Supreme Court is supposed to do, right? And I don't know what happened here, but she said that it's well, I don't know what happened. You know, it might be that because some people have difficulty with metaphors. You know, some people have, you know, their brains don't process metaphors too well. You know, so maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. But it was just when she said that, it just kind of, I chuckled a little bit. No, that's not what. It's a metaphor. He wasn't saying that he is an umpire. You know. Anyway, I wanted to point that out. Sorry to interrupt that, but it was just. Otherwise, I would have. That's kind of a little thing that I would have forgot at the end here when we're going to discuss stuff. So, all right, on with the show.
Told a right-wing dark money group that helped support his confirmation that John Roberts was particularly skilled as a tackler, as someone who studied his opponents and sought to find out ways to tackle them. That's who we really have at the helm of the Supreme Court, is a player on the field who's moving that right-wing regressive Reagan revolutionary agenda forward, not the fair umpire that he claimed to be and that he sought to put a plant into the American people's minds as who he is. He's not that umpire. I've actually decided to call him a Trumpire because he's been so willing to help Trump in almost every way as he expands the presidency far more than any other president has had such power. And in fact, that ruling really took out one of the key pillars of the checks and balances in our democracy, making the oath that John Roberts administered to Donald Trump that he would faithfully execute the law almost meaningless.
Lisa Graves, I want to thank you for being with us, director and founder of the policy research group True North Research. Her new book, Without Precedent, How Chief Justice Roberts and His Accomplices Rewrote the Constitution and Dismantled Our Rights. She was speaking to us from Superior, Wisconsin. Coming up, as the U.S. blows up another boat in the Caribbean and considers assassinating the Venezuelan president, we'll speak to Peter Kornblue of the National Security Archive. Stay with us.
Trumpire, yeah, Trumpire. I've cut the audio on this because YouTube doesn't like music, so I had to cut I can't play the music. Now that I look at that again, let me stop this here. Now that I look at that again, that the woman who was talking, saying that he didn't play baseball and all this kind of stuff, I'm wondering now if she was, maybe I'm the one who's getting. Maybe she was speaking metaphorically when she said no, he didn't play baseball. Maybe that was a metaphorical thing. So now I'm totally confused. Anyway, back to the show.
Democracy Now! Studio. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The U.S. is continuing to blow up boats in the Caribbean and Pacific despite growing international condemnation. On Thursday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the U.S. had struck a boat in the Caribbean, killing 3 people. He alleged they were narco-traffickers, but once again offered no proof. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk recently denounced the U.S. extrajudicial killings. In recent months, the U.S. has blown up 17 boats and 1
especially
submarine.
when it's illegal.
This comes as the New York Times reports the Trump administration is considering launching airstrikes on Venezuela or even assassinating the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. The Times reports one idea floated involves the U.S. sending Army's Delta Force or the Navy SEAL Team 6 to try to capture or kill Maduro. We're joined right now by Peter Kornblue, senior analyst at the National Security Archive, co-author of a new piece in The Nation headlined Trump's Gunboat Diplomacy.
Sorry about that.
And another piece in Foreign...
I had the wrong thing on the thing.
And now, not the fair umpire in our
Wisconsin. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk and the Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the U.S. had struck a boat in the Caribbean, killing 3 people. He alleged they were narco-traffickers, but once again offered no proof. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk recently denounced the U.S. extrajudicial killings. In recent months, the U.S. has blown up 17 boats and 1 submarine. This comes as the New York Times reports the Trump administration is considering launching airstrikes on Venezuela or even assassinating the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. The Times reports one idea floated involves the U.S. sending Army's Delta Force or the Navy SEAL Team 6 to try to capture or kill Maduro. We're joined right now by Peter Kornblue, senior analyst at the National Security Archive, co-author of a new piece in The Nation headlined Trump's Gunboat Diplomacy, and another piece in Foreign Policy headlined With Military Buildup Against Venezuela, U.S. Eyes Cuba as Well. Peter Kornblue, welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you in the studio. Let's talk about the U.S. This New York Times expose, you also wrote about it, the U.S. intention to assassinate another president of another country.
That's right. It's one of the most extraordinary kind of open discussions of assassinating a foreign leader that I think we've ever experienced. It comes 50 years this month after the Church Committee, the famous Senate committee, went ahead and exposed the reality that the CIA had been going around trying to assassinate foreign leaders. And at that point, it was a scandal 50 years ago. And today, we have a situation where openly, the President of the United States and his team are trying to come up with a legal rationale for basically neutralizing, liquidating, assassinating a foreign leader, in this case, Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela. And it's an extraordinary turn of circumstances. It's something we have to talk about. The cynical interpretation of the murder of these boat crews in the Caribbean is basically that the Trump administration is sending a signal to Maduro that he is next. We are committing wanton criminal acts of assassination in the Caribbean. Innocent people haven't been found guilty of anything, and kind of setting the stage for an attack on Caracas itself in an attempt to take out its leader.
You write in the foreign policy piece about the military buildup against Venezuela with 10 naval vessels and 10,000 troops already deployed to the Caribbean, the largest military buildup there since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, and a carrier strike group led by the USS Gerald R. Ford taking up position. Talk about the significance of the USS Gerald R. Ford.
The USS Gerald R. Ford is the biggest aircraft carrier, most modern aircraft carrier in the world. It is described as the most lethal combat platform in the U.S. military. It is currently arriving in the Caribbean in the next 3 or 4 days to take up a position along with another 10 battleships that are already there. The USS Gerald Ford carries 5,000 Marines and seamen. It already is going to augment the military force that's in the region by another 10,000 to be 15,000 U.S. military personnel aimed at Venezuela. So this is a crisis. It's a crisis for Latin America. It's a crisis for the American people because there has been no provocation here. Venezuela has not threatened the United States. It has not attacked the United States. We have a preemptive effort by the President of the United States to kind of renew the old era of gunboat diplomacy and simply say, might makes right. We control what goes on in the Latin American region. We don't like Nicolas Maduro. We're going to take him out.
So Trump officials told lawmakers on Wednesday the U.S. is not currently planning to launch strikes inside Venezuela and doesn't have a legal justification that would support attacks against any land targets right now. It's unclear if they were doing that because it's right before their vote on the War Powers Act, and they were concerned that that vote is getting closer and closer, and they may lose.
Right. So there was a resolution that was just voted on last night in the U.S. Senate that would apply the 1973 War Powers Act to Trump's plans for a military intervention in Venezuela. That vote lost by 51 to 49. With, I think, 2 or 3 Republicans voting for the resolution. The resolution basically says the Constitution says that Congress must declare war for the United States to go to war. And this resolution basically said the Trump administration must cease and desist its military hostilities towards Venezuela until Congress authorizes such a war. And that resolution failed, in some ways giving the Trump administration more latitude, I think, to go forward with the military plans that they may have.
And these boats that they're blowing up, that's also infuriating a number of Republicans. I mean, for example, you have Rand Paul, right, the Kentucky Republican, who's been continually raising a red flag around this. One attack after another that the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, proudly announces. And yet not a shred of evidence are they presenting on their allegations that these people, I think the U.S. has killed, 70 at this point in 18 bombings in the Pacific and the Caribbean?
That is correct. 70 people. None of them found guilty of anything. None of them prosecuted for a crime. The footage you just put up on your screen of the boat being blown out of the water in smithereens is basically a snuff film. And with every attack that the United States has made over the last 2 months, they've put up one of those films and just celebrating the kind of wanton elimination of human life. And this isn't going to stop the flow of drugs into the United States. If there's supply, if there's demand, there's going to be supply. Venezuela is not a major transfer point for drugs coming into the United States. Trump has claimed it's fentanyl. If there is drugs on these boats, it's cocaine. But in the end, we don't have a situation where the law is being followed. This is wanton murder, turning the Caribbean into a killing field.
Okay, I need to I got to interrupt you again. Sorry. Wonton is a noodle or a dumpling dumpling, you know, little stuffed thing that they put in soup. That's wonton. Wonton is that's a word that means a cruel, let me see here, merciless, inhumane, or having no foundation or justification or provocation. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know why that guy kept doing that, because he's like the head of an archive somewhere or something, you know. I think he knows that. I would think he knows the difference, and so I was trying to figure out why he was doing that. Now maybe it's yeah. Orange juice says wonton is nice dipped in sweet chili sauce. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want to diss the guy. I just want to explain that's, you know, that he was mispronouncing it, and I didn't want anybody else to, you know, get confused, get bad. I'd like to put out accurate information when I can. So when there's something that's not right, then I'll fix it. You know, especially if it's something I'm doing that's not right, I try to fix it. Yeah, so that happens sometimes. You get people who mispronounce things. And, yeah, you get that a lot with what's that? There's another word that they mispronounce. Genuine. You hear people, and people do this intentionally, and I don't know why they do it, but they say genuine, and it's educated people. Educated people do that deliberately. I don't know why they do it, just for fun, maybe. I don't know. You know, so I don't know if that's the case with this guy, or if he just was mispronouncing it wrong, or maybe it is pronounced that way somewhere in the world. You know, but I just wanted to point out, in the U.S., the pronunciation that I just gave you was how it's pronounced. So, okay, back to the show.
So what do you think is the goal here? We're looking at Venezuela right now. Trump is increasing his tax against the Colombian president. And then where does Cuba fit into this picture?
I think there are two issues here. One is that Donald Trump wants to be an emperor. He wants territorial gains. He wanted Canada to become the 51st state of the United States. He wanted to take the Panama Canal Zone. He announced that during his inauguration speech on January 20th. He looks at Latin America as, quote, our backyard. And thinks that the United States should impose its kind of will on it. He was even quoted, he told his aides back during his first term, isn't Venezuela part of the United States? I think it would be cool to invade Venezuela. So I think that's one issue. You know, an emperor needs an empire. The other issue is Marco Rubio and his kind of need to undermine, overthrow the Cuban government. And he sees Venezuela as the key patron of Cuba. If Maduro can be eliminated in Venezuela, that will cut the economic and political ties between Venezuela and Cuba and make it easier to undermine the Cuban government.
So I want to ask you about what you just referenced, the 50th anniversary of the Church Committee Senate hearings that investigated the CIA, FBI, and National Security Agency for the first time in 1975-76. It was officially called the Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities. At the time, the committee's chair, Democratic Senator, Idaho's Frank Church, declared the CIA, quote, may have been behaving like a rogue elephant on a rampage, referring to potential illegal activities by the CIA, including plots to assassinate foreign leaders. This is Senator Church during one of the committee's hearings questioning then CIA Director William Colby.
Why did the agency prepare a shellfish toxin for which there is no practical antidote, which attacks the nervous system and brings on death very quickly.
The first part of the answer to that question, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that the L pill, which was developed during World War II, does take some time to work and is particularly agonizing to the subject who uses it. Some of the people who would be natural requesters of such a capability for their own protection and the protection of their fellow agents.
That was past CIA Director William Colby being questioned by the Idaho Senator Frank Church. Yeah. This is the 50th anniversary. For people who aren't even alive then, talk about its significance.
People don't remember what a scandal it was when it was revealed that the CIA had been involved in plots to assassinate Fidel Castro, that they'd been very thoroughly involved in a plot to neutralize the commander-in-chief of the Chilean Armed Forces, Rene Schneider, in 1970.
Just returned from Chile.
Yes, I have. And the assassination of Diem in Vietnam and in Trujillo in the Dominican Republic. This was a scandal in the mid-1970s, kind of as the war in Vietnam was ending, and the United States American public was really kind of rethinking the values and ethics of U.S. foreign policy. And the report is still very much worth reading. And at the very end of the report, the Church Committee, led by Senator Church, said, we think this is an aberration, these attacks by the CIA on trying to kill foreign leaders. We don't think this is what the American public is really all about. And we think we have to learn from this past history and go forward with a far more ethical foreign policy. And now here we are 50 years later, openly celebrating the assassination of low-level boat captains and crew in the Caribbean, and setting the stage and openly discussing legal rationales for assassinating the leader of Venezuela. So we've come a long way in the wrong direction since the scandal of the Church Committee report 50 years ago.
So that was the first Church Committee report. Yes. And then Senator Church went on to investigate the suppression and the targeting of domestic dissidents.
Yes, well, eventually the Church Committee released a set of volumes, the first true study on the secret history of the CIA and the NSA and the FBI and the other members of the intelligence community.
Peter, before we go, I want to ask you about another Peter. The trailblazing human rights attorney Peter Weiss has died at the age of 99, just shy of his 100th birthday. He was on the board of the Center for Constitutional Rights for nearly half a century. He worked to end South African apartheid, to end the Vietnam War, fought for nuclear disarmament, sought justice for U.S. victims of the U.S.-backed Contras in Nicaragua in the 80s, pioneered the 1789 Alien Tort Statute and human rights cases, represented the U.S. journalist, the family of human rights activist Charles Horman, in a case against Henry Kissinger and others after Horman was disappeared and killed in Chile after the U.S.-backed September 11th, 1973 coup. I wanted to play a clip of Peter years ago on Democracy Now! Talking about that case.
Our case was dismissed because we couldn't conduct discovery. When you bring any kind of case, civil or criminal, right, you have to look for the evidence and produce the evidence to the judge or the jury. And everything that we wanted, we were told, was classified and would not be made available to us. So eventually the case had to be dismissed.
So that was Peter Weiss. Peter Kornblue, you knew him well.
That was the beautiful and conscientious and activist Peter Weiss. He never ceased to push for a more just system, a more equitable system, along with his extraordinary wife, Cora Weiss. They were the supporters of so many of the progressive institutions that we know today, including the Center for Constitutional Rights, which did so much incredible legal work on human rights and on trying to hold the U.S. government accountable for the atrocities that it committed around the world. There's not enough words to describe how important Peter was to the progressive movement, to human rights over these last decades, since the late 50s, early 1960s. And it's sad to say goodbye to him, but we all continue to be inspired and guided by every good deed that he did over his entire life.
Peter Kornblue, I want to thank you for being with us, senior analyst at the National Security Archive. We'll link to your pieces in Foreign Policy and The Nation. That does it for our show. I'll be at the same...
Okay, I had to cut off the audio there because they started bringing up the music. So she was talking about promoting something. A documentary. Yeah, it's a documentary that's about her or about Democracy Now! Or something. That was going to be playing locally wherever she is or whatever. So. Okay, so that's the show. Let's run the credits. We'll give them credits. We're going to show the credits here. All the people who did hard work to make that show. All right, that's it. Okay. So,
U.S.-led group of mediators known as the Quad, made up...
There it goes. Welcome, Big Ducky Snow, and welcome, who did I miss? I think I said hi. Yeah, Orange Hue came in. Welcome, Orange Hue. 10 a.m. down here in Australia. Ah, cool. Oh, I did miss some chat here. Welcome, Happy Nightmares. And welcome, Big Ducky Snow. I think that was it, right? I think that's everybody. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining my stream. Yeah, that wonton thing, that's kind of funny. And Genuine, yeah. Some people do it intentionally, some people do it out of ignorance. You know, and that's one of the ways that language changes over time too. You know, people mistakenly mispronounce a word, and maybe people like that pronunciation better or whatever, and then everybody starts doing it, and then it changes. You know, changes the way words are pronounced over time. It's one of the ways that languages evolve. Let's see. I'm going to go through chat here and make sure I address everything that everybody says. Big Ducky Snow said very interesting. Oh wait, Happy Nightmare called out the second syllable from wonton and wanton, even though the change is in the first, right? Wonton, the dumpling, is WONTON. And wanton, the cruel or unjustified or whatever, is WANTON. So it's you change the letter in the first syllable, but it changes the pronunciation in the second syllable. It's kind of interesting. And Big Ducky Snow said, very interesting. When I was a kid in school, sometimes our English or homeroom teacher would get us to find words that sound exactly the same but are spelled the same or are off by one letter. I thought it was very cool. Yeah, hominins. I think that's what that is. Two words that sound the same and are spelled different or something. Or are spelled the same but have different meaning. I forget now. Thank you for the hug, Big Ducky Snow. And let's see. What else we get? Hugs. Everybody giving hugs. Everybody good. Very cool. All right. So, yeah, there were some things I want to talk about here. I'll just go. What I'll do is maybe I'll just rather than put the video back up here again, I'll just use it as a cue for myself to talk about it. The story about Sudan. Sudan doesn't get a lot of coverage, and I had to look up and find out what was going on there because people don't explain what's going on. Sudan is a country in Africa, and it's let's see here. This is an old globe. So this is actually before South Sudan split off. But can you see on there where Sudan is? Maybe you can't see. Here, that's Sudan right there. Okay, here's Africa. See? There we go. And the capital of Sudan is Khartoum with an M, begins with a K, ends with an M. It sounds like cartoon, but it has nothing to do with animation or anything like that. It's Khartoum with an M. Speaking of Hanummans. But this is an old globe. This is 1960s. And it shows Sudan as all one big country there. But it got split off. Let's see. When it's the colonial story, right? The empire type, France and England and these larger countries that Portugal they had empires, right? And they would occupy and set up colonies in these other countries all over the world. And then over time, people, realized that, no, it's wrong to enslave people, it's wrong to kill people, it's wrong to do all these horrible things, and it's wrong to colonize somebody else's, area. It's wrong to have your country go to another place and take over and set up camp or whatever, colonize, right? It was wrong, and to oppress the people. So over time, these empire countries backed, somebody said that the word decolonization is, you're not supposed to use that word. I don't know why, or if that's true or not or whatever, but they backed away, right? They allowed the countries to have their independence, and they didn't oppress them anymore. But when they did that, a lot of times they would do it in a manner where they would like set up borders or move people around or do things where it was guaranteed to cause conflict. You know what I mean? And that's what it did. There and in Sudan, that was one of the places that happened. And so they got their independence in the 60s sometime, and it was actually Sudan was kind of split between the upper part of Sudan was like a colonized or whatever by Egypt, and in the middle, let's see if I got this right, the middle was colonized by Saudi Arabia, I think it was, or Iran, and the Ottoman Empire, right? We're going way back, right? The Ottoman Empire, and then the lower part was colonized by England. So I think I have those right. And so and each of those colonies then had their own ideas of how to run things and stuff like that, right? So you had the upper part of Sudan was mostly Muslim, and then the bottom part that was occupied by UK or England was a Christian, mostly, because whoever invaded the country and took the area, whatever area they colonized, they imposed their religion on the people that were there. The people had their own religion before the empires came in. So anyway, in the 60s, they backed out, right? They went away and Sudan got its independence, but it was all screwed up, right? They had different religions, and as I said, they do it in a way that they guarantee conflict, and that's what happened. And the country's been in conflict almost all the time, for a long, long time. And they had one leader in there for a dictator in there for a couple decades, I guess, and anyway, this at some point, these two, they have like military groups that would fight for power all the time. That's kind of how it worked out. They never really had a functioning government for very long, but they did have a dictator for a certain amount of time, like a couple decades or something like that. And then he was running into trouble, and what happened was there was two different factions, which are now called, one's called SAF, and the other one's called RSF. And then there were some other ones too, but those were like major ones. And SAF was kind of was going to fight, I guess, was challenging the dictator, and the dictator called on the leader of the RSF, which is now called RSF, which is the Rapid Security Force, I think is what it's called. And they went up there pretending like they were going to defend the dictator, but when they got there, they joined with the people who were challenging the dictator and ousted him. And so that, and then they set up a kind of a government where they would share power, right, between each other. And you know how that works, right? When you try to get two groups that are military groups that fight for power, tooth and nail to try to get as much power as they can. Yeah, they're going to share power. Sure they are. It didn't last very long. It only lasted like a couple years or something like that, and then it broke out into war again. But anyway, recently then, because the south part of Sudan was mostly Christian, and the upper part of it was mostly Muslim, they ended up splitting. And so they have South Sudan now. There's a whole new country with independence and all that. It happened about a decade ago or so. It's fairly recent. I forget when it was exactly. It's one of the newest countries that, and the international community recognized them. And they did okay for a while, but then they started fighting among themselves in South Sudan. And then now Sudan is fighting, and it's mostly between these two groups, this Sudanese armed forces, which is, because of their name, it sounds like they are the official army or the official military of Sudan, but not really. There is nobody who can really claim legitimacy in that country, but they have the name Sudanese Armed Forces or something like that. And in this other group, RSF is the Rapid Security Forces or something like that. And so when you hear reporting about Sudan, it's always they say RSF is a paramilitary group and the SAF is the Sudanese military, but it's not. That's misleading. It's like there really is no legitimate army or group or whatever. And even in times when they weren't fighting and they had a real leader and all that kind of stuff, the armies still were kind of independent. They didn't really take orders too well. You know what I mean? So, and then you have countries outside of Sudan who are supporting the various groups, and the RSF. Everybody says that the UAE is supporting them. Apparently, they don't. UAE is not officially saying that they are, but everybody's saying that that's what it is. That's what's going on. And then the U.S. is selling arms to UAE, and so people are starting to say, "Hey, what's going on there?" The U.S.'s official position is that the U.S. doesn't support one side or the other. But that's probably true. But the arms industry in the U.S. is pretty powerful and big and whatever, and they do what they want. So they're selling to UAE, arms. And I think what's happening is that, the U.S. is selling more up-to-date, jets and weapons and stuff, weapon systems and all that to UAE. And then UAE is taking their older stuff that they don't need anymore and supplying RSF with it. And the RSF really doesn't have much of an air force. Really, they don't have a lot of, they don't have any jets or anything like that. It's mostly artillery and stuff like that. And the SAF has some jets, F-35s or something like that. But the RSF recently, just in October, last part of October, went into this town called Al-Fashir, which is a little bit like a cartoon is. Let's see here. I don't know if I can even find it on here. I can't see it. I can't see it well. But like if cartoon is up here in the middle of Sudan, then Al Fashir is down here somewhere, a little bit further down, closer to South Sudan. It's not part of South Sudan, but it's right there. And that whole western part of Sudan and South Sudan is called the Darfur region. You'll probably hear news outlets talking about that. So anyway, that's a little bit of background on what's going on there. It's when they went into that town or that city, people weren't expecting that they would, because the SAF apparently has better weaponry and stuff like that, but the Rapid Security Force, RSF, went in there. And apparently it was very brutal. They killed just a ton of civilians and just really, really awful stuff when they took over that city. That's what the reports were anyway. The first casualties of war is the truth, right? So we never really know what's going on. And then they kill all the journalists, right? It's, news outlets are not very many journalists are going to go in there, and if they do, it's going to be difficult for them to survive. So let's see. Big Ducky Snow says, let's see what we got here. Big Ducky Snow says, gonna waddle on downstairs to Netflix and dinner and mom and pop. Yeah. Spend that quality time with your parents there, Stephen. I appreciate you stopping by, though. Much love to everyone, he says, and many TYSMs for the righteous company. Thank you so much thank you so much, Stephen, for stopping by. Yeah, see you in the next one. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else here in chat? Let's see. I got to back up here a little bit. Okay. Something, Silver Pills says, something new I'm seeing is people are writing of in place of the contraction VE. Must of instead of must have. Must of instead of must have. Yeah. A lot of mistakes like that. And Silver Pill says there's only one Lord of the Ring and one who can bend to his will, and he does not share power. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that's like a mental illness or something. I think it should be classified as a mental illness. These people who have to have power, all and stuff like that. I think it's a mental illness, really. You look at what we got here in the U.S. right now. Clearly, the guy's mentally ill, right? I think, it seems like it's something that can be. it's like contagious, because there's such a thing as contagious mental illnesses, right? And I think that's kind of what under certain conditions and certain environments, and perhaps maybe a certain genetic predisposition, that people become that way. They get where they want power, and and unfortunately, the people who want power end up being the ones in power, right? It kind of makes sense, right? If people are not, quote unquote normal people, neurotypical or whatever, people who don't have that mental illness, okay, let's put it that way, they don't seek power. They don't want, they're not going to go out and try to be, tell everybody else what to do and all that, But the ones who do that, then they end up messing it up for everybody else, and they're the ones who end up in power, and so. I don't know. So, sometimes I think the system they had way back in Athens, the original democracy, where the leaders were chosen by sortition. They take a lot, right? You put everybody's name into a big basket, and you pick one, and okay, you're the leader now. That's it's random. I really think we could do a hell of a lot better if our leaders were picked at random. I really do. It's I don't know. So anyway, and there you go. Sudan is just one of those places. And the thing with Sudan, a lot of this, I think a lot of the conditions that cause this conflict come from the outside. It's in Sudan, they have a lot of oil, they have a lot of gold, and so other countries want that oil and gold, or they want to keep that oil and gold off the market, one or the other, so that their oil and gold is worth more, whatever, And so you get all these people on the outside messing, making things worse, for people who live in the country. So it really is, it's sad, and I don't know how to fix it, or if there is a way to fix it. Eventually, I guess it will get fixed. I don't know. I think a lot of it is, like I said, resources and stuff like that, and as we get more and more, the automation comes online, stuff like that. I think, and we start having more and more stuff. There's less scarcity. Then I think there'll be less conflict. I think that'll be a natural, outcome of having, what they call post-scarcity world or whatever. So okay, so that's Sudan. It's very, very sad, and we should really be paying more attention to what's going on there. So let's see, and then we had, of course, Israel is bombing everybody, bombing Lebanon and the Gaza Strip, and then we got the this thing here. This is what I wanted to talk about. We got these boats, right? Let me show this. Sorry. All right, I'll show this here because this is so we can know what we're talking about. Remember these boats, right? The military releases these videos that they say are of them bombing these boats, and these are another reason for not showing these pictures is that is because they're propaganda, and they're meant to terrorize, right? That guy was explaining that these pictures are meant to terrorize people, to terrorize people in Venezuela and South America, and just cause fear in people generally. So it's terrorism. There's no other word for it but terrorism. That's what it is. They're doing violence. It's illegal violence, and they're doing it in order to frighten people and cause terror for political means. That's the definition of terrorism. So that's, and then this guy here and this Chris Van Hollen, the senator. I covered this the last time they did this. There was a guy a while back when they were talking about God, I can't remember which one it was, but it was the same thing. It was authorization of using military force, and Congress is supposed to have that authority, right? We talked about that. You know that, right? You learned that in kindergarten, right? That Congress is the only one who can declare war, right? That's and then so if the president thinks that we need to go to war, the president goes to Congress and says, "Hey, Congress, declare war," or in the modern way, they don't do it that way. They authorize force, right? Congress authorizes force. So if the president says he thinks that for the security of the country we need to do this, this force, then the president has to go to Congress and ask Congress for authority to use force, and then Congress votes, right? It's the people, right? The people decide. Congress votes and says, yes, you can use force. No, you can't use force. They have to vote on it. And what this guy's doing here, this guy right here, he's pretending like he doesn't want war. He wants war. This guy wants war. This Chris Van Hollen, he wants us to go to war. He wants us to be fighting for whatever reason. Maybe he's taking money from the arms industry or who knows what his deal is. The reason I say that is because if he did not want us to go to war, he would propose that the Senate vote on an authorization to use military force. Instead, what he said was, let's introduce a resolution to tell the president not to use force, right? And it's much harder to get something approved in Congress than it is to not approve something, So they, if this guy really did not want us to go to war, he would introduce a resolution that said, this resolution authorizes the president to use force against Venezuela or whatever the deal was, right? And it would be introduced in the Senate and the House of Representatives. And if it passed the House and it passed the Senate, then the president would have authority to do that then, right? But instead, he and whoever's backing him or whatever introduced a thing that said, here's a resolution prohibiting the president from doing the thing. And so it's just harder to pass, something like that. And so the result is that everybody thinks the president has authority to do that, So it's kind of sad. But let's see. Chat. Let me catch up on chat. Silver Pill says those who aren't predispositioned to crave power find no interest in it, which leaves the door wide open for those who do crave it. It's unbalanced, if any of that makes sense. And they say, I'm always nervous of a white man in power with Van or Vaughn in their name. Yeah, I wouldn't, I wouldn't say, bring race into it. I wouldn't say white or whatever. Or even Van and Vaughn, it's everybody in Senate, It's not just this guy here, Most people, there's only a couple people in the Senate who will actually vote against and try not to have war. You know what I mean? And it's because they all get money from the arms industry. Plus, when we go to war, Congress has more power. The government has more power when we go to war. So, and the problem is they do this voting in a way that they think gives them cover. So, but it doesn't. I don't. I think people are starting to wise up a little bit. EBT EBT and this thing here, this SNAP thing. They cut off. For those of you who aren't in the United States, they cut off. We have this program called SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, in the U.S. And this is a trigger warning. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about food a little bit here. So if it's just so you know, it's a food trigger, whatever. So just so you know, if you don't want to see that. So poor people who can't afford stuff, then they give them a certain amount of money each month. And they put it on this card. They call it an EBT card. It works just like a credit card. It used to be called food stamps, before everything was digital and all that. And they actually handed out stamps, these stamps that were worth so much money or whatever to the poor people who needed food. And then they would take those stamps to the store and they were able to buy food with these special stamps they called food stamps. But they changed the name now, and they changed the way it's done, and it's all on this credit card called an EBT card now. Anyway, they sent out a thing when we were getting towards the end of last month, October, and I wasn't sure if they were going to cut off because they were going to stop funding for it. And I thought, well, whatever they have on their card already is already there, so they should be able to use that even at because it rolls over each month, right? If you don't use all of the money on the card, it rolls over to the next month, so you still have it available, And so I thought, well, they're not going to take the money away from the card, But then in New Hampshire, this is New Hampshire. I live in New Hampshire, and they have this Department of Health and Human Services in New Hampshire. They sent out this letter, and I'll just go ahead and read it to you. It says, "We are writing to inform you that the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Food and Nutritional Services, has notified all states that due to the federal government shutdown, there may be insufficient funds to pay full November's food benefits through the Federal Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program." This is this letter here that they sent out. Can you see that? And they said the situation may change quickly. The New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services continues to monitor the situation. We'll keep you updated. Blah blah blah. And then this is a real key part. It says, if you have not already done so, we encourage you to sign up for an email and text alerts. Oh, okay. That's not what I was. Oh, and then it says you may want here, right here. It says you may right here. See that? See what it says there? I don't know if you can see that. It says you may want to consider using benefits currently on your EBT cards before October 31st. You can check the balance, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. So I wasn't sure. I thought, well, you know, it just rolls over to the next month. But I said, well, I better spend it. And anyway, I got this letter in November, right? It was too late. It was already in November when I got this thing. But I had figured, okay, I will empty the card just in case. So that was a week ago. That was on October 31st. And what are we at now? We're on November 8th. So that's 8 days. So I haven't been able to buy food for 8 days, which kind of sucks. But I got food around here, so it's not like I'm eating, trying to eat one meal a day plus a snack, rather than eating normal 3 meals a day or whatever. And that was working really good. And then today I got kind of hungry, so I made some burritos here. Right, food trigger. I made some burritos here. Look at this burrito. Isn't that a nice burrito? I made this from scratch. I didn't make the tortilla from scratch, but I made the burrito from scratch, and it came out pretty good. It's been sitting here for an hour, or 2 hours now, I guess. But yeah, I made a couple of those. So that's what I was doing. Like yesterday, I had pasta in the morning, and then I made some trail mix for snack for the rest of the day. And then this morning I had oatmeal. I actually took the trail mix that I had left over. I had a little bit of trail mix left over from yesterday, and mixed that in with my oatmeal this morning. I had oatmeal this morning, and I thought, okay, that'll be my one meal, and then I'll have a snack this afternoon. But that wouldn't work, and I was getting too hungry, so I had to make these burritos. So I only ate one of the burritos, so I saved these other two, so I can get a day and a half out of them or something like that. And then I got I showed this at the beginning. I got 4 of these various sizes of these squash that I got from my garden, and these last a long time. Last year I had these squash, and I ate them throughout the winter, and one of them I didn't eat until was it February or something like that. They last that long. They last a really long time. So when the weather's cold anyway. And I got some beans from the garden. I planted beans, but this is not enough this is even enough to make a burrito out of. So this is about how many I planted. I got the same number of beans that I planted. I still haven't figured out how to grow beans. So that's that. And what? The acorns. I talked about my acorns before. Let me show you that. Hang on just a second. I went and first I picked up a few acorns out there. I was going to test, and I picked these are red oak acorns. They have a lot of tannin in them, so you have to really treat them. You have to leach them and do all this stuff to get the tannin out of them. Oh wait, did I get I got 13 people here. How do I? Hang on a second. Hang on. I think I got raided or something. Let me see what's going on here. All right. Okay. No, I guess I just looked down there and saw I got 13 people. I thought I got raided. Thank you, everybody who lurkers are welcome. We were talking about the news and stuff like that. Now we're talking about Snap. I'm just explaining how I'm going to survive without SNAP. I checked yesterday, and it's not. They didn't put there's still no money on there, so I can't. I haven't bought food since October 31st, so I'm explaining how I'm getting by. Plus, I have an emergency. Everybody should have, like a month or two of extra food anyway. So I'm not that worried yet. But anyway, these red oak acorns. So I got them. I was going to try that out, and apparently there's a way that you can you crack them open and you leach them and do all this stuff to them. And so I got these, and then I went back out and I got all of these. Look at all these that I got. Look at that. Wow. Huh? That's a lot. And there was still a ton. There were many times this that were still out there. And when this was all, a month ago or whatever that I did all that. And I was going to, it was mostly just to try for as like a feasibility thing to see if I could do that, process and eat the acorns. But when this whole SNAP thing happened, I thought, oh shit, I'm gonna have to, maybe I should go pick up all the rest of the acorns out there. And I went out there today, and they're almost all gone. The squirrels got them all. So the squirrels weren't getting them at first because they have the tannin in them, and they taste bitter. But we had a bunch of rain and stuff like that, so maybe there was some natural leaching of the tannin out of them. I'm not sure what it is, but they didn't get them for a while. The squirrels weren't eating them, and then all of a sudden now the squirrels went and picked up all the acorns out there. So it might just be that they're they're running out of other stuff to store, right? They grab stuff and they try to store as much as they can for the winter, and maybe they've run out of the good stuff, and now they're going for the red oak acorns, the stuff with the tannin. So anyway, that's kind of some of the things that I'm doing to or thinking about or whatever to try to get through it. And this happened once before when they screwed up SNAP, and I had to do the same thing. I had to cut back to one meal a day, and until they got it figured out. So I'm sure they'll figure it out. But that's what's going on here. Let's see what else they got here. So that's SNAP. And really, another thing on SNAP, something I think they should do, they should make that so that you can buy anything with or any basic thing, with the SNAP stuff, with the EBT card. Because right now, the only thing you can buy is food and water, right? That's right. But you can't buy toilet paper, tampons, or deodorant, or shampoo, or toothpaste. You know what I mean? I think they should expand it to that kind of stuff. Because otherwise, I think they did a study and they found that people who go on SNAP actually have a less healthy weight because all they can spend it on is food. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't think I am a little bit overweight. I think I'm within the normal range on the body mass index. I think I'm still within the normal, or I'm right on the edge of being overweight. It's not like an obese or whatever, but I have a little bit of padding there. So if I had to really start cutting back, I have a little bit of right on my body that I can use to stay alive. So What else did they have? Okay, that UPS crash. Not sure what, plane crashes. Whenever a plane crashes, you know, nobody ever knows why when it first happens, because it takes them so long to investigate. So there's really nothing to report when there's a crash. A lot of times they don't, or most of the time they don't know exactly why. Elon Musk. Let's see what else I had on here. Chicago. Yeah, that's basically the president's invading his own country. You had the guy throwing a sandwich. The passport thing. That was. I don't know that much about this issue, but just based on this report here, it seems like a no-brainer. You just let people be who they are. I don't know. Again, this is one of those issues that billionaires and politicians and people who seek power don't really care about, but they throw these, they intentionally do awful things like this, right. What they did is they changed it so that trans people could not put their actual gender on their passport. They had to put their birth gender. And people in power do this kind of stuff. They don't care. The people in power don't care about this issue directly themselves, but what they do is they do these awful things in order to stir up people and on issues that the wealthy people and the politicians don't care about. Either way this issue comes out, right, it's not going to affect the power or the wealth of those people. They don't care, but a lot of people do care. I care. I care about this. And so the only reason they do that is to stir things up and to get people distracted, and I don't know. It's just people. To me, it's a no-brainer. People should be allowed to be who they are, and let them put their actual, gender on there, not their birth gender. Okay, let's see. Got a flood. Climate change. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. They had a thing here for climate change where they had apparently a report came out that the oil companies were propagandizing people in South America to fool them into thinking that cars burning gas was not contributing to climate change. The same. That's not much of a news flash. We all know that. We know that we already know that the oil companies are horrible, and that they were lying to people. So, what's this? Oh, this is somebody who died. No, what is this now? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, this guy. Well, President. Okay, this is the COP 30, right? Okay, this is COP 30, which is now this I don't understand. Look at all these people, right? This is from the previous one, maybe. All these people get on airplanes and fly from all over the world and burn fossil fuels in order to meet and talk about how they're not going to burn fossil fuels. It just that kind of bugs me. They could do this over video calls and stuff. You know what I mean? They don't have to do that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, but it just kind of bugs me. If you care about, just to let you know, if you care about climate change, don't wait for the politicians to do something about it. Do it yourself. There are a lot of things you can do. Now you can look up on my VODs. I've got at least one or a couple of them out in there where I explain, what you can do just on your own, without getting permission from a billionaire or a politician or anybody. Stuff you can do on your own right now, to help fix the problem. So everybody should act individually. Collective action is good for some things, but this is one of those things that if you do this thing, you're going to help. You know what I mean? It'll help. It's not like a vote, and you vote, and maybe if you're lucky, your candidate wins, but you might vote for them and they won't win or whatever. But on climate change, if you stop burning fossil fuel, you're helping immediately. There's no doubt about it, right? If you don't burn that fossil fuel, put the CO2 in the air, then you're helping. So it's something you can do. Individual action, let's see what else we got here. Nancy Pelosi, who cares? Okay, yeah, they got that guy, a lefty, New York mayor. Let's see, Peter Weiss. Okay, so obit for that guy. Okay, yeah, that's that thing we just talked about. Okay, and they had an interview with this person here about it. All right. Okay, some music. Oh, okay, this is my last stream was all about this. Was about this Supreme Court thing. You can look at my last stream that I did on Thursday. We live streamed the oral arguments for this case, and the Trump tariffs are illegal. There's no doubt about it. They're illegal. And I don't understand why they're even arguing it, but they're doing it. They're arguing about it. They're definitely illegal. So now we just get to see how corrupt the Supreme Court is, whether they're gonna recognize that they are illegal. I think they will. It's because they can't. I think they realize that if they allowed these tariffs, it would pretty much be it. I mean, that would be it, right? That we wouldn't have much of a constitution or anything anymore if they did that, and they would certainly have no credibility if they didn't recognize that. So, all right. So I don't remember if there was anything. Oh, there was something in there. When you're looking at that my coverage of that issue.
Changing the policy in the case is a group of small businesses.
Thursday,
this is the
I was trying to make it, show pictures of who was speaking, of the 9 justices. So whenever a justice would speak, I would listen and try to recognize their voice, and then put their picture up in the stream, And I think I may have messed up one or two times. I was getting Amy Cohn Barrett and Brown Jackson. I think where I was a couple times. I may have confused those two. I'm not sure. But towards the end of the thing, I had them wired and I had their voices figured out. So so if you're watching that and it doesn't seem right, that's I may have made a mistake there on a couple of the voices of the people who were the justices.
That seems like I'm not like that.
Lisa. So in fact, the Chief
Okay,
Justice is the main
who's
focus
talking
of your
about,
book on the Supreme.
This president, it's
about umpires.
It's not
and then we got,
oh my goodness.
Justice.
what else? Is there anything else I need to talk about? Oh, we got this guy talking about wontons.
Another
wanton wonton.
Have a situation where openly the President of the United States and his team are trying to come up with a legal rationale for basically neutralize with a legal
The EDU,
rationale
there he
for
is.
trying
George
to
Washington
come up with a
University.
legal rationale for trying to
NS
come up with a legal
Archive,
rationale for
National
basically
Security Archive.
neutralizing, liquidating,
Yeah, he knows the difference between
assassinating.
wonton and wanton.
Basically,
So I
in
don't
the
know why he was saying that.
1960.
in the not take him out. 49. Trump administration.
So yeah, they're blown out. Yeah, we talked
there's,
about that. They're
supply
shooting
of
people in
into
these boats.
of human
That's
life.
illegal. You can't do that.
And this,
you can't kill people.
and
That's
particularly
murder. It's
you
called
just
murder.
put up on your
Whether
screen
you
of
show
the
pictures
boat
about
being
it,
blown out of the water and
pretend like you're not,
smithereens.
like
It's
you're not
basically a
hiding
snuff
it or
film.
whatever. It's still, it's still murder. It's against the law.
Drugs coming into the United States.
should go to
Trump
prison
has
for
claimed
that.
it's fentanyl. It's with our backyard.
So at the end,
Oh, and CIA. Yeah, the CIA is still killing people. You know, under this AUMF. A quarter century now ago almost, they passed an AUMF to go after Osama bin Laden, or if you're in the United States, Osama bin Laden, and in the thing they said go after Al Qaeda and anybody who supports them. It was real vague language, and and with that AUMF, then the CIA and the Department of Defense have been assassinating people. You know, they've been going out there. They've killed more than 900 people. They've killed without anything, including American citizens and Americans. You know, not just Al Qaeda. You know, anybody they don't want to. They think they. Who knows what their process is, right? But they're going out there and they're killing people, usually with drones, but sometimes with other methods and stuff. So that's not good. So this guy here was talking about that. Let me show you. This guy here, Peter, what's his name? Pete, whatever his name is. Peter Kornbluh. He was talking about this, and he brought up that way back in the 60s when the CIA was, assassinating world leaders and stuff and changing governments and doing all these assassinations, that they had this big church hearing, what do they call it, a church report, church hearing, whatever, and it was a big deal, and people were upset about that. But now they're doing it again. Now it's not maybe not leaders of foreign countries, but it's they've been killing, as I said, over 900 people. There's one guy that they killed, one of the higher ups in Al Qaeda or one of those groups. It took them several times to try to assassinate this guy, and in the process of making all these assassination attempts, they killed more than 100 people, including more than 70 children that were killed while they're trying to assassinate this guy with their drones. And it's just, and all this is happening in secret, right? And then you hear about it later, it gets leaked out or whatever, that that's that they're doing that. So not good. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you're on Twitch here, they've been playing a bunch of ads trying to recruit people into the army and all this. You see these recruitment ads. Oh, join the army, and we're nice to the minorities and women and blah blah blah, or whatever. And you can learn a trade or learn this and that and do all whatever they think is going to get people to join the army. Don't do it, man. I recommend, right, that you do not, or let's put it this way. think about what you're fighting for. Okay, when you go into the army, you take an oath, and the reason that you're fighting in the army is because of this, the Constitution. You swear to this is what you're fighting for, the Constitution, and all the freedoms and the rights and everything that is in the Constitution. That's why when you join the army, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're fighting for freedom. You're fighting for the rights of people to, democracy. That's what you're fighting. That's what all these people who have died, all these veterans that, I'm going to say his name, okay? Trump, all these veterans that gave their lives, he said that those veterans were losers. Okay? So, to me, anybody who signs up right now with Trump, having basically a dictator, that's what he is, right? We're not a democracy anymore. So anybody who signs up to go in the army and fight for that guy and fight to defend, this dictatorship that we have, this authoritarian thing, you don't be fooled. You're not fighting. You're not fighting for this. You're not fighting for that. We're not a democracy anymore. Until we're a democracy, I would recommend that you not do that. Okay? What you should do is do everything you can to take down this regime and restore democracy. That's what you should be doing. First time chatter. Where in Britain are you from? Filth Brother. Welcome, Filth Brother, to chat, to my streamer. I'm in the U.S. I'm in the U.S. Yeah. And fortunately, I usually have fewer than 5 viewers, so nobody cares what I say, so I can say these things. Yeah, welcome to chat. Yeah, I am in the U.S. and I was just doing some news here. This Democracy Now! Is a thing that's produced in the U.S. and it talks about world news, but it's in English and it's from kind of for an American audience, but it goes all over the world. So, what do you mean it's not a democracy anymore? Didn't you unfortunately elect this clown? No, I didn't elect him. I don't support him. No, I didn't. I live in New Hampshire, and in New Hampshire we voted for, in a general election, New Hampshire voted for Biden, and I voted for Cornel West, so I didn't vote for either one of them, because both of them were bad. So yeah, I don't support the U.S. government at all right now. I oppose them. I want to take down the government, and we're not a democracy. If you look at the people who rate the countries and just and say which ones are democracies and which ones are not democracies, we're no longer listed as a democracy. U.S. is no longer listed as a democracy. They call it. Some of them say it's a flawed democracy, or it's a whatever they use, euphemism they use, but we're not really a democracy. It's just the fact. That our president is just doing a whole bunch of illegal things and nobody's stopping him, and he's not following the Constitution anymore. He's not following the laws, and for a long time, the law, at least 20, 30 years now, the laws that Congress passes are not what the people want. And that's kind of like the basic measure of a democracy, right? Is the stuff that's happening, that the government is doing, is that what the people want? That's bottom line, right? Metric of if you're a democracy. And it's not like that. They don't do what the people want. So it's been like that for a long time. But now we have a guy who is an authoritarian, and you know, people aren't in government who are supposed to be stopping him are not stopping him. So that's a problem. So anyway, yeah, I'm in New Hampshire, in USA. Where are you at? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to say if you don't want to. All right, so
for which there is no practical.
So yeah, CIA is still assassinating.
Requesters of such a capability.
It's not world leaders, but it's leaders of
Requesters
groups,
of such a capability.
things like that.
Talk about
Passing through. Talking about all that.
factless the democracy.
All right, so that's, I think that covers everything. Shut that off. So that was all the news, and did I cover all my I did explain. Yeah, I already talked about all the food stuff that I was doing. There was some IRL stuff. You guys want to see some IRLs around here? You want to see what it looks like around here? You're asking me where I'm from, and I can show you where I'm from. I can show you some videos from around here. Let's see what I've got here. Let's see here. Here we go. Yeah, here's a short little video. I'll put this up here. You'll see window. Okay. See that? This is where, that was me. There's me and that with my, my cap. And this is where I live. There's a mountain. That's a little hill out there. There's some mountains out there. And so I live in a rural area in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, USA. And let's see if I could find some more here. Okay, that's another one of the same thing, basically. Well, this is when it's a little bit foggy. Yeah, I went out in the morning, and it was kind of foggy out there. This is basically pointed in the same direction, but there's just a lot of fog, so you couldn't see. And I just thought it was kind of cool, the way the trees look in the fog and stuff. It's just kind of cool. So. We're having this. We're kind of we have a what they call the foliage season or whatever in the fall. All the leaves turn color. So, and it's a big deal. A lot of tourists come up and drive. We call them leaf peepers. People come by and come up to New Hampshire and Vermont to look at the trees. You know, the leaves on the trees. It's kind of a big deal. Let's see. This is a let me chat here. Let's see. Where in Britain are you from? What do you mean it's not a democracy anymore? Okay. I'm from this is Fifth Brother. He says, I'm from Norway, and yeah, I agree with you on that. Most democracies are quite flawed. We have our issues too, but U.S. politics seem pretty insane to me. Yeah, Norway. Yeah, you guys are pretty good up there. You guys are rated toward actually the top of the list, or right near the top of the list on those rankings. You know, of places where they. So you guys are doing democracy the right way, the correct way, I should say. And that's beautiful. Yeah, it is. This is a beautiful area. New Hampshire is on the east coast, northeast. We border Canada and another state called Maine, which is a little bit further east and north of us. Let's see, I got some JPEGs in there, but I don't know what that's. Oh, there it is. So this is called Jacob's Brook. And I went out here and I wanted to take a picture with the water running. This actually runs dry sometimes if we don't get rain for a long time. But we had a bunch of rain and I wanted to take a picture, but it actually receded a little bit, so it's a little bit less than what it was. This is a little bit later in the afternoon or whatever. There are no fish in there, but this flows to the Connecticut River, which is a big river in the United States. It's a river that divides New Hampshire and Vermont. It starts up in Canada somewhere, I think. So that's that. Let's see what else we got. I haven't really gone through these. I should have sorted through these, I think. So this is kind of like raw stuff. So, oh, these are the donkeys are out there. Can you hear them? Maybe not. There's a little donkey out there who was born this spring, and he's just really, really spunky, and he was just running around. And let me start it over again so you can see him here. Right? There he is. See him running there? So, little guy. I had my camera setting on the wrong. I had it on a wide view here, so it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, there they are. They're fighting. Look at them there. See that? That one is kicking the other. That one donkey is kicking the other donkey. That's actually that donkey's mother that's kicking him. So it's like the mother is like disciplining the kid. You know, the kid was running around causing trouble, getting everybody excited, and so the mother is kicking him. That's kind of how they see that one, that donkey right there. I don't know if you can see that. She's kicking him. You know, doing a back with her back feet, you know, kicking him, trying to get him to calm down. You know, act your age. You know, you just think it's like a mother telling her kid, you know, hey, act your age. You shouldn't be running around like that, you know, or whatever. Come here. Kind of funny. I don't know what I was. Oh, there we go. There's now that's a horse. That's a miniature horse, and that's a donkey.
Hi. What's up?
Oh, there's another one. Look at them all running around. There's donkeys. They've been pretty excited recently. They've been doing a lot of this running around. The donkeys are all excited. I think this is like when it gets cold, you know, they tend to do this more when it gets cold. They run around like that. And I think it might be like some natural thing or whatever that they run around to try to warm, and it warms them up a little bit. I'm not really sure, but they do that. Like in the summer, they don't do this. Not very rare for them to do this in the summer, but when it cools down, then they start doing this. All right. Yeah, this is just raw video. I didn't really. It's not. You know, it's not edited or anything, so it's kind of just random, you know. they're running around, kicking each other. Get them there. Alright. Oh, this is at a somebody here did a presentation or something on watching waterfowl, you know, birds and ducks and loons and different things, and so people went out to do watching the ducks and the loons and stuff out on the lake there. That's it's not a lake, it's a pond. It's Upper Baker Pond is what that's called. Okay, here's some other stuff that was around. You can see most of the trees have lost their leaves now, you know. So, they had a pretty good turnout. Like, quite a few people showed up for this. The guy the guy who's kind of presented the thing or whatever was really, he knew his stuff, you know. He could really tell birds. He could tell most of them just by the sounds they make and stuff. So I don't know. Again, this is just raw. This is just raw stuff out of my camera. We're not, you know. Oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool, actually. This is a. See all the holes in this tree here? All these holes are from a pileated woodpecker. They have different types of woodpeckers, you know. Pileated is a huge. It's the biggest woodpecker we got around here. And it likes to peck a lot on the lower parts of the trees. And it just destroys the trees, man. It just puts these huge, deep holes in the trees. And so that's what that is there. That's a pileated woodpecker just went after that tree. All right, and so, oh, this is a weird moss that I saw on here. Not moss, it's a fungus. It's kind of a, it's not powder, it's not powdery, it's called something else. I looked it up and now I forgot what it was. But it's just an interesting moss there on that tree there. You see it right here, this part? And then we got, I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm taking it. It's just, again, just raw stuff out of the camera. You know. Oh, here we go. This is kind of interesting. This kind of says this is, I think I zoom in a little bit here. There we go. But yeah, the loon is endangered, I guess, or threatened, or I don't know what it is, but it's these they make a real weird noise if you're familiar with the loons, and so they're just telling people, you know, what not to do, to things that screw up the loons, you know, that you don't do these things, you know. So that's all that is. I think I was trying to take a picture of a flock of birds. There was a few flocks of birds. What was it? What were they called? I forget what they're called. Just little brown birds. Something pine. I forget what it's called now.
I feel like I've seen it, but I should go. Oh, it was a pine system. Is it pine system?
Yeah, I was trying to get a picture of that flock of birds, but I just couldn't. That's not. Oh, there they are. You can see them there. Okay. See that? There you can see them. See them? All those little dots. And they were making noises too, you know, little beep, chirpy little noises. I don't know if the noises, the calls that they were making were to try to keep in formation or what it was, but okay, this is just, I'm just panning across here on this one just to show you what it looks like here. It's Upper Baker Pond, it's called. There's a monster home way out here somewhere, just kind of, you know, conspicuous. You know. And more donkeys running around. So this one here, right here, that's the little baby donkey that was born this spring.
Hi. What's up? What's up? Hi. Hi. What's up? Huh?
He likes to bite.
What's up? What is this? What's going on, huh? Oh, don't bite. Don't bite. Look at that. No. Let go. Let go. Don't bite. Come on now. Let go. You're gonna ruin my jacket there. Let go,
It's
please.
already ruined.
Please. Be good. Be good. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. Hi. 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 Oh, don't bite. No, that's not good. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. 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 Don't bite. Don't bite. No. No. Don't bite. Don't bite me. No. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. Be good. You're gonna be good.
Oh, I got a raid.
Good. Be a good donkey. Can't you be a good donkey? No. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. All right, bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Let me see if I can get my. I'm right. Long stretch. I've been out here for almost 3 hours here. So welcome Raiders. Was that Raider from Chan the Magic Man? Thank you, Chan, for the raid. I didn't see my raid call. I don't know if it showed up or not. But thank you for the raid. Let me look at chat here. Let me see who all is here. Bao, thank you. Bao, Chan the Magic Man. Raiding with a party of 6. Thank you, Chan. I appreciate it. Peekaboo Draws, welcome. E-Room, welcome. Hi, yeah, hi everybody. Donkeys, yeah. Yeah, do you want to see the donkeys again? I'll play this one again because this is kind of basically what I'm doing. I did a whole bunch of stuff. I did the news earlier, and I did talked about my these acorns that I picked up off the ground out in my backyard that I'm gonna have to live on until they figure out that they want to pay do SNAP for poor people. I guess I'll have to live off acorns. I don't know. So I was talking about that. Oh, and I made some burritos. Oh yeah. Trigger warning. I'm going to talk about food. I made some burritos. They've been out here for 3 hours, so they don't look as good as when I first made them. Let's see. E-Room, Bow. Okay. Nom. Yeah, they're good. Those burritos are pretty good. So anyway, I've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and now what I'm doing is I'm just randomly going through stuff off of just raw video off of my camera that I've been taking the past few days. But I'll replay this donkey one because it's kind of funny. They're running around and kicking each other, and donkeys are all excited right now for some reason. So what happens is when the weather starts to get cooler, they run around more, and I think it's like a natural thing to kind of keep them warm, you know. And this little baby donkey here, this one right here was just born this spring, so he's 6 months old or whatever it is, 8 months old, I don't know. And this one here is his mother, so he is just really spunky, and he's always getting into trouble and doing stuff. And so when he starts going crazy and running around and stuff, then his mom gives him one of those back kicks, like donkeys do. And I'll just let this play here.
Hi. What's up? What's up? Hi. Hi. What's up? Huh? What's up?
He likes to bite.
What is this? What's going on, huh? Oh, don't bite. Don't bite. Look at that. No. Let go. Let go. Don't bite. Come on now. Let go. You're going to ruin my jacket there. Let go, please. Please.
This is right in my
Be
back.
good. Be good. Don't bite.
Yard, basically.
Don't bite.
Just a few steps away.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
That white one there is really old.
Oh, don't bite. No, that's not good. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. 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 Don't bite. Don't bite. No. No. Don't bite. Try to bite me. No. Don't bite. Don't bite. No. Be good. You gonna be good, huh? Be good. Come on now. Be a good donkey. Can't you be a good donkey, huh? Don't bite. Don't bite. No. All right, bye.
So that's
Bye.
So yeah, that's the donkeys. So that little one is basically an adolescent or whatever, It's a male. It's the only male I think that out there now. But he is just really, I guess he's reaching puberty, or I don't know I don't know how donkeys work, but he's just really going crazy. The other day, this was a few days ago. There's my house right there on the right hand side there, so you can see how close it is to my house. I basically live on the donkey farm with the donkeys. So yeah, he's this was a few days ago, but I think it was yesterday or day before I went out there, and he was trying to bite again, and I think I got him to where he's a little bit he's understanding now not to bite, and I praised him and everything, so I think he's starting to understand that he's not supposed to do that. But anyway, you heard the crows in the background. My crows were out there. Right before my stream today, I was kind of hungry and cranky, and I thought, no, I can't stream when I'm in that mood. So I decided to go for a quick walk, and I went out there, and my crows followed me on my whole walk. I walked all up past the brook out there. I don't know if you've seen my IRLs before, but I walked up the hill there, and they followed me all the way to the end of their territory. That's like each group of crows has their own little territory, and they don't cross each other's territory, and they got them pretty well defined. They know how far they can go and all that. And my crows actually followed me. You know, one of them flew out, and I waved at him and made sure he knew it was me. You know, and once he knew it was me, he called all his buddies, and they all just kind of flew to the next tree as I was walking my walk. So that was kind of funny, and they all just followed me. On this short little walk that I did. And then when I got back, when they saw me come in the house, then they flew over and they basically told me they wanted me to throw peanuts out there for them. They have a way to do that. Do you leave goodies out? Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feed them every morning. I throw peanuts out there for them every morning, and I also put out sunflower seeds for the little birds too. So and I've been doing this for a decade almost, or something, maybe more. And so they know me real well, and then I call them in the morning, if they're not paying attention, if they're not around, they don't see me. I call them. I have this certain whistle that I do, and they just come flying right in. So it's pretty cool. And so they know me pretty well, and it was just kind of funny. It's the first time that I know that they've ever done that, where they've actually followed me all throughout my whole walk. And I think it was because they wanted some peanuts, and they were following me around, trying to get me, trying to communicate to me that, hey, give me some more peanuts, And like, as I said, when I got back and I went in my house, I looked at them, and they were just doing all the stuff that they do when they want peanuts. Flying to certain trees and everything. So that was kind of funny. So yeah, I was just doing these IRL videos here. There's one. I don't know. Did you guys see the one with the lake? Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Here's one with a lake. Or it's not a lake. It's a pond. This is Upper Baker Pond, it's called.
Well, I don't know. We went out west and we saw a ton of.
And I went to this. Some guy did a presentation where he showed a bunch of the waterfowl out on the lake, on the pond rather. No, that's not that good enough. Let's see here. Okay, that's a flock of birds. There we go. So this is kind of what it looks like. And they have loons out there. That's the main. So yeah, everybody's wearing orange. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I didn't put that up there. Sorry, I forgot to shut my camera off. All right, let's try this again. Repeat. There we go. There we go. That's Upper Baker Pond. So that's pretty cool. I've only been there a couple times actually. It's pretty close, But everybody wears orange because it's hunting season right now. So you gotta, when you go out for a hike or whatever, you gotta wear orange so you don't get shot by the hunters. The rules are though that if anybody gets shot by a hunter, the hunter goes to prison. Basically, is what the rules are. There are no excuses on that. They don't. Yeah, this guy that just died recently, Dick Cheney. I don't know if you heard about him. He shot one of his buddies in the face on a hunting trip with a shotgun, and he didn't get nothing. Yeah, he didn't do. It was like I guess he's the vice president. We're not going to throw him in jail just because he shot somebody, right? I don't know. It's kind of, so yeah, everybody's got to wear orange. But it's still the hunter's fault. Even if you go out there and you're wearing camo, right? and you stick antlers on your hat. If a hunter shoots you, they go to prison. You know, that's the rule. They have to have it that way. So they have it set up here. Something called they call it current use. New Hampshire is very much, our motto is live free or die, and very much into property rights and rights, everybody's rights and freedom and stuff like that. And but you also want to have lots of land where people can recreate, right? Where people can go out and go for hikes or do whatever they want to do, in the wilderness and stuff. And so the way they do it is they have something called current use, so that people who have property over a certain size can get a discount on their property taxes if they allow people to recreate on their property. And that's how they work it out, rather than like having a state buy huge areas of land, and running it like a state park or something. I mean, they have some like that, but rather than relying on that, they have this other system where they give discounts to property owners that allow recreation on their land. And so the way it worked out pretty good, because there's a lot of land that's in current use, because people want to pay less taxes, right? So there's a lot of land in New Hampshire in current use, which means available that you can go recreate on. So that it works out pretty good. So there's a lot of hiking areas, and in our little town in Orford, the Appalachian Trail runs right through our town. So I've done some streams on that too. I did a couple streams where I did a hike on the Appalachian Trail and all that. Did I miss anything in chat? I don't think so. I forgot to ask Chan how his stream was, what he was doing. It's Saturday, so maybe he was playing games or doing IRL. I'm not sure. I should have asked him. Sorry, Chan. Sorry, I don't get a lot of raids, so I don't have the deal done yet. Let me give shout outs to everybody here. Let's see. Okay, shout out to, do I do an @ Is that how I do it? Let me see. Yeah, that worked. So there's Chan. Everybody follows everybody already, but maybe for the VOD or whatever, I'll shout everybody out. Chan the Magic Man, he does, as the name says, he does magic. On Monday, he does Magic Mondays, where he does a bunch of, the whole stream is about doing magic tricks and stuff like that. And then other days he plays games. He does really good on retro games, like the one with the puzzle pieces. What's the name of that? Oh shit, I don't remember the name. Anyway, he plays a lot of. He's a very good gamer, very talented, and he does Rubik cubes very quickly. Does a lot of cool stuff like that, and he does some IRL streams with the Buddhist temple near where he lives, and he did an IRL in Cambodia once. So a lot of quite a good content, a lot of great content from Chan. And let me give a shout out to eRoom. eRoom does he does words on stream, and he talks about his Legos, and he does some IRL at the Dairy Queen or in the park. He does metal detecting, in the park, and finds interesting things. I haven't seen you do that lately, eRoom. I don't know if you're still doing that. I guess it's kind of cold out there now. But so everybody follow eRoom, because he does really cool stuff. And Peekaboo Draws. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, Peekaboo Draws does, as the name implies, is an artist and draws, and her streams are just her hands doing the drawing. I don't know. Do you ever show anything besides your hands? I don't know. Peekaboo. I don't know. she mods. She helps out other streamers. She's very very nice person and very helpful to everybody. So everybody give her a follow. And let's see who else. Wow. Okay. I don't know what. Wow, I forgot what you do. Sorry. And I don't have my setup here where I can. Oh, they were last seen playing IRL. So you did an IRL stream. Wow. I don't know if Fifth Brother a streamer. I don't know if you're a streamer. Let me know. We'll give you a shout out. Silver Pills. Yes, Silver Pills is a streamer. No Man's Sky. That's right. Yeah, you've been playing that recently a lot. I've seen that. You've been playing that. I don't know if that's your main game all the time, or if that's just a recent thing that you've been on. But anyway, everybody give Silver Pills a follow and watch them play No Man's Sky. I don't know anything about games. I watch people stream games, to try to figure it out, but I don't understand. I mean, I barely understand what's going on when they do it, when they're streaming and stuff, and I really don't know what's going on half the time with the games. I know they have all different types of games. I know they have some that are like puzzle games or where you try to figure things out, and some of them are more stories where it's like a story, and then you get decision trees in the story where you can decide to do one thing or another. I know they got those. And then they have some that are like fighting games, first-person shooter fighter games or whatever. I don't know. Lots of different games I guess people play. I don't play games on stream very much, but all right. Let's give Big Ducky Snow. He was in here earlier. He's watching a Netflix movie with his parents right now. So I think everybody follows Big. If you don't follow Big Ducky Snow, you got to follow him. He's a must follow. He does karaoke streams and co-working streams. Pomo, is that what it is? Do they still call it Pomo? Let's see. I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody? Let me know if I missed anybody. Oh, Happy Nightmares. Okay. Happy Nightmares was in here earlier. Happy Nightmares streams. Let's see. She did an IRL recently at a museum, and she streams a lot of stuff about how the brain works and things like that, and sciencey type stuff, and reads papers online and a lot of different things. So everybody give Happy Nightmares a follow. And I think that's everybody. Disillusion popped in early. I don't know if they stream or not. He popped in for a second at the very beginning. I don't know if they stream or not. But I think, Orange Hue. Orange Hue was in here. I don't know if they stream. I'll give them a shout out anyway. Let's see what it says. It does. They were last seen playing Just Chatting. Okay, cool. Now I think that's everybody. I'm trying to go back through my chat history here to see if there's anybody else that I need to shout out. I guess this is why people have mods. Oh, we had somebody who was selling cheap viewers. They're probably not a streamer. Yeah, they wanted me to buy some cheap viewers from them. So, all right, I think that's it. I think that's everybody. All right, thank you everybody for stopping by. Yeah, I'm pretty much almost done with this. I guess I should rate out, huh? See if I should rate out to somebody else, because I've been out here for over three hours here. There was something else I was going to do. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Let's look at some AI videos. Those are really cool. Yeah, let me do that, because that's kind of cool. I've been doing a lot of stuff with Sora. You familiar with Sora? The AI video thing that makes videos. Let me see if I can make that come up here. There it is. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is the main thing, but this is I have this account that I set up. I call it Double Tribble, right? It's it's open AI, right? They did Chat GTP, and they also came up with this thing that does videos called Sora. And what it is, you just type in here what you want a video of, and it will do that. So I could type in here. I can type something like a man in Indianapolis. How do you spell Indianapolis? Metal detecting in a park. All right, let's see what it does. All right, I'll do it. I'll do it landscape. All right, and so you just tell it that, and it'll make a video about that. Sora is very cool. It is very cool. It's amazing that it's able to do that. I'm just really amazed that it can do that. And something I found out is that it was actually working better when they first started it, and now it seems like it doesn't work as well. I'm not really sure what's going on. They may a lot of these AI things, they will tune them up to tell them to like get as many try to keep people engaged as long as possible, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They try to get people to use it more, right? And what the AIs figure out is that, the AIs figure out, well, if I don't give them the correct answer the first time, they'll ask me again, and that counts as another thing, you know? And so the AI is kind of incentivized not to give you the right answer the first time, so that you can keep using it, you know? So it's, I don't know. They'll figure it out, I'm sure, but I can show you some of the things that I did. Here's a cat parade. This cat parade. Here, I'll show you this one.
Once every 3 years, the sleepy streets of Ypres awaken to a carnival of cats. Floats roll like storybooks, musicians strike up brass and drum, and thousands... Once every 3 years, the sleep.
Okay, that's none of that exists. None of this stuff exists in real life at all. This was all made up by this AI. None of these people are real people. None of this is the event itself is a real event. But none of these floats, none of these people, none of this stuff exists in real life. Those cats, nothing. None of them exists in real life. They're all just generated by this AI. So it's just amazing. And I gave it a okay. This one here is they have a new feature called Stitch, where you can stitch together multiple videos, and that's what I did here. I took a 10-second video and a 15-second video, and I stitched them together to get this 25-second video. But like the prompt, all I told it on these things. Uh-oh, it's not working. What's going on here? There it goes. That was my only prompt right here for this one. Was this one word here, which means cat something. Cat means cat, and cat throw, cat parade maybe. I don't know what it means. But in Belgium, they have this thing once every 3 years. They have this Kattenstoot, or Kattenstoot, or whatever it is. It's a parade for cats. And cats are a big you hear them, yeah. Cats are a big deal on the internet, So I thought, oh, that would be. I don't know how I found out about this. Just one of those things. I don't know. I was going through Wikipedia or something. I don't know. But I found this thing about this cat parade. It's actually a horrible thing. The origins are actually a horrible thing. The origins of this whole thing come from years ago. They used to use cats to get the mice out of the belfries of the bell towers, And so they'd put the cats in there and they'd get rid of all the mice throughout the winter or something. And then after all the mice were gone in the spring, they didn't need the cats anymore, and they would actually just throw the cats out of the belfry and just let them fall on the ground and die. So it's a horrible story from the origin of the thing. But they've turned it into this, I guess they feel guilty about that tradition or whatever, and they turned it into this parade and everything. So it's kind of funny. So, okay, I typed that one in there, that one draft, that one request about a guy. And okay, let's see here. All right, for some reason it didn't do my thing. It didn't create that. It didn't even give me an error message or anything. So I don't know what happened there. Yesterday, the site was down. People, yeah, bad people. Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, they did. The people did terrible thing. Yeah, it's terrible. But humans, yeah, people a long time ago did a bunch of horrible stuff. When you look at history, people just, just slavery and invading people and killing, and you look like what the Vikings did, and it was all it was normal. It was normalized. That was like, that's the way people were. It was really messed up. So we actually have progressed over the past 1,000 years or whatever. So that didn't work. I don't know. Let me try another one. Anybody have anything else that you want to see? I can show you some that I did do. This one here of Marilyn Monroe over here. This is a statue of Marilyn Monroe, and they have something called remixes, So somebody had already done this statue of Marilyn Monroe and had this guy under Marilyn Monroe looking up her dress, you know. And so I said, oh, yeah, I'll do a remix of this. And so what I did is I told it to...
Wow, that is some statue.
You look like you're about to climb it.
Just checking the engineering, you know? It's impressive from down here.
How about a closer look?
Whoa, hey. Okay, that's new. You're not supposed to move.
I'm full of surprises. Thought you might enjoy the view from up here.
Can't argue with it. Mind setting... Wow, that is some statue.
You look like you're about to climb it.
Just checking the engineering, you know? It's impressive from down here.
How about a closer look?
Whoa, hey. Okay, that's new. You're not supposed to move.
I'm full of surprises. Thought you might enjoy the view from up here.
Can't argue with it. Mind setting...
All right, so that's... So they have remixes. So the guy who did this original video, he just did the statue of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe wasn't moving or anything. It was this guy that was walking underneath the statue. And I said, well, let's make the statue move, you know. So I tried several different ones, and I finally did this one where, and this is the prompt that I gave it. And when you do a remix, you say remix, and then it says, okay, what changes do you want to make? And so I typed this in. I said the statue is a claymation, and she picks up the little guy by his scruff. So the apparently the AI didn't want to pick it up by, you know, grab him by the neck or whatever. So they made it a little bit more gentle, you know. But it was still... It's a claymation, right? She's a claymation. Now, and I did some other ones here, but these are remixes, right? So this is, like, I can pick another one here. I don't know if they have. There we go. I can show you, like, this. This is what the original, oh no, this is mine. This is mine also. I did this one. I told the statue to take a selfie of itself, and it did this.
Oh, say cheese, Marilyn.
Turn on the sound here.
Ooh, that breeze just won't quit. Keeps my skirt on its toes. Well, if the wind's gonna play paparazzi, I might as well get my own shot. Here we go. Say cheese, Marilyn.
So that's just a, you know. I'm trying to find the original one. I don't know. The user interface on this website is really kind of messed up, you know. They're still working on it. It's beta. I don't know what it is. But I just do all kinds of different weird things. I did a thing on N95 masks. It did pretty good here. Oh, no, it's not running.
When it comes to stopping COVID-19, a properly worn NIOSH-approved respirator like this N95 is the most effective tool we have. The stiff nose piece is molded to my face. The headbands are positioned above and below the ear, and the edges seal all the way around. When I breathe in and out, nothing. When it comes to stopping COVID-19...
All right, so you notice on the look at the wording here that comes up. The AI is dyslexic or something. I did a stream on that where I talked about AI being neurodivergent. I really do. I think AI is neurodivergent, or at least that's a way of looking at it. You know, because it does think differently than normal people. You know, and like there are a couple things that I've noticed on Sora that kind of correspond to people who are neuro-D. You know, one is dyslexia. It can't do numbers very well and writing. Especially if it's generating the writing on its own. If you tell it exactly, you know, make a sign that says this, and you type it in, then it can do that sometimes. But if it's trying to generate its own words and stuff, it messes it up. It's like it has dyslexia. The other thing is when you try to tell it right to left, you know, right hand versus left hand, and change the perspective, like from looking at somebody to looking from their perspective. You know, like say which is that person's right hand, or which is the right hand from your perspective. You know what I mean? People who are neuro-D have problems with that, and I did a stream or a video a while back that kind of demonstrated that. You guys have all seen my trailers, right? My trailer. I think you already saw that. I don't know. I did that on Sora here. Okay, here we go. Oh no, wait, these are okay. Shit, this is not it. These are my drafts, isn't it? Oh. I can't find that video. I did a video where I told Sora to make a video from somebody's perspective of somebody looking at their own hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it couldn't. It got all confused. It couldn't figure that out at all. It really got confused. It's not in here anymore. Well, that's not good. Maybe it's a draft. Yeah, I wanted to show it to you because it kind of goes along with that idea of the thing being neuro-D. Here it is. Okay. See, this guy's looking at his own hands. Show a scene of panic in the street. A guy runs up to the camera, panicked look. Okay, that's not it. I did a whole TV series called Maximize Paperclips, and the whole thing is that the AI, instead of maximizing paperclips, it got confused and thought it was supposed to maximize paper cuts. So everybody was giving paper cuts. But damn, oh, there it is. Yeah, there we got it. Okay. All right. So the prompt that I gave it here was that there's panic in the streets and paper flying all over the place and people running around. And I said, the guy has adhesive bandages on each of his 5 fingers on both hands. And I said, show what his hands look like from his perspective. And that's when it got confused, because it gave him two left hands. See that? He's got 2 left hands. And that's what it did. It got confused. When I told him to switch it to his perspective.
Can't even feel the tips. Stay calm. Just stay calm. Breathe. Find cover.
And it kind of distorted his fingers a little bit.
Cups are everywhere. In my hands. I can't even feel the tips. Stay calm. Just stay calm. Breathe. Find cover.
Like two left hands on this guy.
Cups are everywhere. In my hands.
And it seems to do okay now.
Can't even feel the tips. Stay calm. Just stay calm. Breathe. Find cover.
From there,
Cups are everywhere.
But when I told him to do it from the
can't even feel the tips. Stay calm. Just stay calm. Breathe.
So that's kind of weird. So that's kind of...
Cups are everywhere. In my hands. I can't even feel the tips. Stay calm.
Okay. Anyway, so it's just kind of fun to do just random stuff with this. Oh, and I had him do Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers dancing. That's kind of funny. I don't know. What I was trying, I spent a long time trying to get it. I was trying to get him to get Fred Astaire to do the moonwalk, like Michael Jackson's moonwalk, and he couldn't do it. I could never get it to have any character anywhere do the moonwalk. It just doesn't know how to do that. So it's kind of funny. Oh, this is just ridiculous. This one. All right, let me. I was trying to get do something for Snap, to like a protest thing or whatever for Snap, and I did this here. It took me several times to get it, but I finally got this lady here holding a sign that said "We'll vote for food," right, from Snap, right? So anyway, it took a long time to get that. And along the way, it did different versions. It had different, didn't have exactly the right pose and everything on here. And I kept telling it over and over and over and over to do it, and it kept screwing up. And it finally did this just ridiculous thing with that prompt, asking it to have that lady holding a sign that says "We'll vote for food." It gave me this. Here, it says, I said, the sign is visible. So I did a remix of the woman holding the sign that said "We'll vote for food." And I told it to do some different changes, make the woman thin and make her blonde and to make all these different changes to her. And this is what it gave me.
Keeps the inside a bit quieter too. So if you're stopping by for cough trends, if you ever find yourself on this side of the building, this sign is your guide. We keep the front door locked most of the day, but the side entrance is always open. Just follow the arrow around the corner and you'll see it right away. It saves you a few steps back and forth and keeps the inside a bit quieter too. So if you're stopping by for cough trends, if you ever find yourself on this side of the building, this sign is your guide. We keep the front door locked most of the day, but the side entrance is always open.
Isn't that ridiculous? That's not what I asked for, And I told it to, it got a thin woman with blonde hair. It did that, and I told it because it kept giving me these error messages saying how bad the that I was breaking its rules. They call them guardrails. It's censorship, right? They don't like you doing certain things, right? And they give you error messages when you do certain things. And so I said, okay, just make sure the sign's visible and make the woman thin and blonde, and make any other. I told it, make any other changes you have to make to conform to your own guardrails. I told it, and this is what it told me. And again, right, look at this is a sign that it generated on its own. It wrote the text, and it has dyslexia here, when it's writing. But when I told it specifically what the sign was going to say, then it got that. Okay, where is that one? You saw it already, right? The one that said we'll vote for food. Where is it? Here. Yeah, see, that one's okay. It was able to do that one just fine, because I typed in those letters for it to do that. So I just think it's so interesting that it has dyslexia like that. And you guys saw this already, right? You saw my this one here.
Double Tribble is in rural New Hampshire. He has social dyslexia, and he streams science and technology, film reviews, IRL with the animals, civics, and vegan things. What's vegan?
Oh, that's my. So I had several different actors say that line, and then I put them together into my trailer, stitched them together into a channel trailer. So, and this one here, and another one here. Is this a draft? No. Let's see here. I had a guy on the moon do that. Here's a guy doing the moonwalk on the moon. This is the best I could get it to do. My prompt was an astronaut does the moonwalk dance on the moon, and this is as good as it could do it. It didn't know it could never figure out how to do the moonwalk. It's kind of funny. Okay, here it is. This one's funny. All right, this is the one. I think. Let's see. Okay, so you've seen that experiment on the moon. Peekaboo says, "Oh, crazy how that can be done." AI is a bit confused on how the moonwalk works. Yes. Yeah, I could never get it to... You know what I think it is because one of the priorities they have for this Sora AI thing is they want it to look realistic. They want their videos to look realistic, you know? They don't want stuff that doesn't look realistic. So one of the priorities is they want the videos to conform to physics, you know? If you let something go, it falls. If you whatever. When somebody walks, when their feet go forward, they go forward. You know what I mean? So if you tell it to do the moonwalk is like something that is an optical illusion that defies physics, right? When somebody does the moonwalk, it looks like they're stepping forward, but they're actually sliding backwards. So I think that just confused the thing, you know? Because one of its primary directives is make sure the thing looks like it's real, physically real, you know, like it conforms to physics. But the moonwalk doesn't do that. The moonwalk is the opposite of that, right? So, and this is that experiment that Apollo 11 or 12 or whatever did, where the astronaut brought up a hammer and a feather, and they dropped the hammer and the feather, and they land at the same time. You heard of that, right? It's a real famous experiment that the astronauts did on the moon. And so I tried to do a joke on it, and I did this here. All right, there we go.
Well, that's unexpected.
Whoops. Did you see that? Here, I'll do it again.
Let's see if these fall together. Well, that's unexpected.
So that's the guy. Look at this big, long thing that I did. Basically, this was another one of those things. I told it to do this video and have the hammer fall first, you know, just as a joke, you know. And it would not do that. It couldn't do it. And after, half a dozen tries of telling it to do this to make sure the hammer lands first, this is what it came up with. And what's happening here is actually the physics is right, you know. That's what would happen, more or less. But in order to get the hammer to land first, the Sora made the astronaut put this one lower to begin with, and plus the astronaut pushes down on it. So it's real weird. It's kind of funny that it did that. Anyway, there's just a whole bunch of these videos. I don't know if anybody else fools around. I don't know, did you see this one yet?
Smaller than the width of a human hair. Smaller than the width of a human hair. Smaller.
All right. Anyway, I just do a whole bunch of them. This one here I did, and it got almost 2,000 views. I put it up on one of my YouTube channels, and it got over 2,000 views. I'll show you this one.
I wonder if that's because of the curvature of space-time. Nah.
That probably doesn't make any sense to you, you know, to the normal folks here, but it's for science geeks. That's a funny thing. Let's see here. What else did I have on there? Oh, this one.
I don't think I follow you. I don't think I follow you.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, so that's some of my videos. Oh, this one was kind of cool.
Takes a rock. Part
when
Drake returns.
That's another geeky thing, science geeky thing for science people. Let's see. All right, I guess that's it.
Meet Lily.
Oh wait, I got the wrong thing up here. Shit. All right, I gotta try harder.
I don't think I follow you.
That looks exactly like Einstein. Dark. Oh, here it is. This is
I wonder if that. I wonder if that's because of the curvature of space-time. Nah.
All right. You've seen this
Hi,
one too, right?
this is-
I'm sure you've seen this, right?
Oh, hi. This is the Double Tribble channel. My name is Ron, and I live in rural New Hampshire, surrounded by forests and wild animals. Wait, I'm still a cartoon. Hold on. Oh, hi. This is the Double Tribble channel. My name is Ron, and I live in rural New Hampshire, surrounded by forests and wild animals. Wait, I'm still a cartoon. Hold on. Oh.
Okay, I'll do an AI stream later, where I talk more about the like what's going on in the industry and what, you know, a lot of the issues that are happening with AI, because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff, a lot of changes happening and everything. All right, I've been out here too long. It's a 4-hour stream. That's way too long for me. I don't think I have enough people to raid. So let me put this back on. And let's see, I did your shout outs. Oh, I gotta do my own promo, right? I gotta say, tell people to follow me. There are all my, not all my links, but some of my links. And I think I got to figure out something else besides YouTube to do my videos on, because they gave me a strike for something that I didn't do. I don't like that, so I think I'm going to go somewhere else. But I haven't figured out where to go yet. So at some point I'm gonna have my videos are gonna be somewhere else. I have a lot of them, about half of them up on my website at the doubletribble.com, so you can watch them there with no ads or anything, and uncensored mostly. So, but yeah, if you want to give me a follow on YouTube or on KXQE, which is where I put the just random videos. I put a lot of my AI videos up there. All right, I guess that's it. I've been blowing through the ads, so sorry about that. I guess that's it. I don't think I need to do anything else. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. And I guess going to wrap it up. So take care. Thank you. Thank you for the raid, Chan. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in and watching my silly videos here.